Hello and welcome to Select and Start, the podcast about meaningful and memorable video games. It's me, Keifer, and every episode I bring on a guest who selects a game that made an impact on their life. I have a wonderful returning guest with me today. He's the co-host of the Fine Time podcast and was previously on to discuss Super Mario Bros. 3. It's Andre, everybody. Dre, how are you doing?
Hello, everybody. I'm great. Thanks for having me again. I am back once again to talk the Mario, the one and only Mario.
You're the foremost Mario expert that we have on the show. Happy to have you on. It's been a while actually because my life's completely different from when I did that episode. I think that was like episode 6 of the podcast, and now it's this is the 50th. This is the 50th episode.
Wow, you've really been trucking along. Yeah, it's like it's weird because like Fine Time was a weekly show, right? So we're just kind of rolling along. You know, the numbers kind of get up there. For you, I know it's a lot more infrequent.
Mhm.
So to get to 50, I didn't know you were that high already. That's cool.
Yeah. I didn't think I'd ever make it here. This is the longest like creative project I've ever been a part of, and it has been made possible because I have wonderful guests like you to come on the show to talk about video games that they love, listeners who care enough to listen to us talk about these things, and of course the Moonshot Network. So I'm super grateful. You also just hit a milestone too. You did episode 64, right?
Yeah, we did Fine Time 64 of our regular big deal episodes, not our in-betweeners, which is kind of wild. Yeah, but we have those are the ones we count. We don't usually say episode numbers on the air, but that time we just thought Fine Time 64 was appropriately funny.
Yeah, I don't necessarily need like episode numbers because I don't want to set an expectation for listeners that they have to listen in any sort of linear way. But
Yep.
I did see the number when I was like editing the 49th episode. Oh, okay, we're heading to 50. And what an episode to do it on. So an appropriate game to do it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely happy to have you on for this momentous occasion. Like I said, it's been a while since we've had you on the show. What have you been up to lately? What have you been playing lately?
Man, what have I been playing lately? As of this recording, I just started playing Famicom Detective Club MEO, The Smiling Man, that just came out. So I'm just diving into that. Visions of Mana is also coming out like tomorrow as of this recording. So it's like those are the two games I've been looking forward to all summer. They're coming out on damn near the same day. It is cruel, but here we are. So that's what I've been playing over the last couple years since I've been here. Man, a lot.
You don't have to tell me everything, but what do you think are like the standout games that you've played over the last couple of years?
Jesus. I don't remember if I was on with you. No, I wasn't, because it came out in 23. Octopath Traveler 2, maybe, is probably the best game I think that I've played since I've been on last. Like that, that game was everything to me. That game was just excellent. I don't know if you ever played the first one or either of them or whatever, but man, I loved Octopath Traveler 2 so much.
Yeah, I've been meaning to check these out. I joked way back last year during the show, if I ever became unemployed, that's when I'm going to enter my RPG era. And that is technically true because I'm again more than 70 plus hours into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at the moment.
Ooh, yes.
I am looking at my list of games I finished since I started playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and that has been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, including today's episode, that I have played and beaten in the time that I've started this game.
Yeah, Rebirth, Rebirth and Octopath Traveler 2 were like my 1 and 1A of like games that I've loved since I've been on last. Rebirth was, I took a vacation week to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I did. I had never anticipated a game that much, especially a Final Fantasy game, because honestly, I don't actually play Final Fantasy like that, and I'm not even like the biggest fan of the original, but like Remake just set me on a path. Like the ending of that game just made me go, okay, I have to see where this is going. And Rebirth delivered. They over delivered so much. It's the most over delivering game I've ever played, and in a good way. I know some people think it's overwhelming. For me, I can't get enough. It was the best.
You see, I like it when a game is kind of an everything game. So I understand. And the thing with games like this is like it's easy to burn yourself out. And I think that I do think this is a fault of the game by telling you exactly where everything is. For the most part, like not every single individual thing, but for most stuff, versus like how the original Final Fantasy VII was just kind of like, here's a big map, explore it, and you will find things, versus the way that like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, like if you go over here, you can go and make progress on this quest thing. I think if that wasn't a part of the system and you just ran into things, people would get less burnout. But again, we all have this compulsion to 100% a game before we get to the end game. So I can see how people are like struggling with that.
Yeah, for sure. I only did the stuff that I wanted to do, and I made sure just to do that. I spent like 100 hours on it, and I was great. I could have spent another 50 on it, honestly, considering the stuff I left on the table. I'll leave that for a future playthrough or a hard mode or something like that.
Yeah.
I did the stuff that I wanted to do only, really, and I couldn't have been happier.
Yeah, no, it has one of the best action systems of any like video game I've ever played. So just like on
Yep.
that level alone, even if I am disappointed by the ending, I don't know what I have. This could be anything. For me, like it's weird being like in August and like it's 4 months after everyone's played this game. I don't know what the ending's like. But
when you get there, shoot me a message, because I love to talk about this with everybody. I cannot wait till you get there.
Yeah.
I agree with what you said about the action as well, and yeah, man. Oh, the music, man. The music is so galaxy brain insane.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even contemplate what's happening there. It's crazy.
Yeah, the sheer like breadth of music in the game is like blowing me away, and like the different interpretations of stuff that's even different from stuff that was in remake. I thought it was going to do like a Mario Galaxy like thing where it's like we're just going to carry a bunch of this stuff over, and it does for a lot of it. But then there's just like, oh, okay, even more, huh?
Yeah. They went so far. It's so
good.
good.
To that point, I saw a metal show a few weeks ago, and this is how I know that I'm poisoned by video games. I just kept thinking like, wow, if I were in a metal band, I would love to just play like the boss, one of the boss tracks from Final Fantasy VII, like that.
Yeah.
But since I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy, that's just where my mind goes when I'm seeing people thrash on guitars now.
Yep, I totally get it. Sometimes those thoughts sneak in my brain. I'm like, okay, no, they're doing a thing. Stop being you for a second and just enjoy.
This is what I get for going outside. It's like I'm just thinking about being inside. But I also did go to a show a few months ago where they were using the underwater aquatic music from Donkey Kong Country as like a lead in to their music. So
that's so awesome to hear stuff like that in the relative wild, you know?
Yeah.
It's great.
It was like a local DIY thing, and they were just playing, I know that, and I feel silly for knowing it, but they know it, so I shouldn't feel ashamed.
They want everyone else to know it too.
Yeah, but besides, big chunky RPGs, anything else sticking out to you in the last couple of years?
Oh man, no, honestly, like I've kind of just been playing games like that. I've been playing long, slow. Yeah, like all the stuff I can think of for RPGs. I recently played Shining Force CD, the Sega CD. Like I guess Shining Force 3 before there was an actual Shining Force 3 on Saturn, essentially. Yeah, I've just honestly have been playing a lot of RPGs. So I am in my JRPG era, apparently.
Yeah. So you're in a big JRPG mode, and you mentioned a couple games you're looking forward to. Anything else on the docket? I know there was just a bunch of presentations between Gamescom and the two Nintendo Directs. What are you looking forward to?
Oh, the Capcom stuff, the collections, whether it's Marvel vs. Capcom collection. They just announced Capcom Fighting Collection 2, which has both Capcom versus SNKs, both Power Stones. I mean, the thing is insane. That is so generous. I grew up in the arcades, and I'm still a Capcom head to this day. So for me, this is it. Like, this is the holy grail. I cannot believe this stuff is happening right now. So yeah, that's the stuff I'm looking forward to, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like I was talking last episode or a couple episodes ago about like how excited I was for Capcom putting out those Ace Attorney things with Miles Edgeworth, and now they're doing these.
Yes.
I mean, and then looking forward to Marvel versus Capcom stuff, and now the SNK, because I've never played Power Stone. I never had a chance to find a legitimate way to play Power Stone before, and this is going to be a big motivator because it's a $40 package of 8 games that have never been forward ported into modern hardware. So that's exciting alone. But the fact that Capcom's just been good at this stuff. Like, I know we always shit on Capcom in the sense because it takes them a million years to make anything new that isn't Resident Evil and Monster Hunter. But if you just make your shit available on as many devices as possible, I'm going to give you a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah, man. And they're finally doing it, and it looks like they're doing it right too, not half-assed, and not, man, like they're really putting in the work, and it's showing. They someone at the top now actually cares about this stuff, and you can tell.
You can tell that they care, and I think they're a company that knows where their bread is buttered in terms of like, if we release fighting games, and Evo is like one of the biggest video game adjacent events of the year and is like watched by millions of people, we should probably make a lot of these games available so we can have Marvel versus Capcom 2 at our event. Online play for Marvel versus Capcom and Marvel versus Capcom 2 is crazy. The fact that we're getting online play for Power Stone is nuts.
And Power Stone 2, which is 4 players.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, that's not easy. They're really doing the work. So it's great. And I love all the obscure stuff, the plasma sword, the Capcom Fighting Evolution, even though the game sucks.
Yeah.
I do want to actually play it again, The fact that it's even here, the fact that they're just like, no, we're not going to be embarrassed of this shit. Here it is. It's great.
It's almost like, archiving in a sense. Like, I know it's a commercial product and it doesn't have every single itemized thing in these collections, but it is a good start, and it is something that a lot of people should be learning from, because again, they're making good money off these things. I have the Mega Man collections. I have not just the Mega Man and Mega Man X1, but the Mega Man ZX1. And if they ever release a Mega Man Legends Tron Bond collection, day one, you got me. I'm getting it.
I'm here for it. Yeah. I love those 3 games.
I still need to play the Battle Network ones too, because I grew up on those stuff.
I've been working my way through those too. I'm on Battle Network 4, honestly, as we speak. So yeah, I've been playing through those too. So yeah, it's been great.
The most RPG ass Mega Man games, mind you.
Yeah, very, very much so. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah. I like those. That's why I liked Nier Automata so much, is because that chip system reminded me of Battle Network.
A little bit, I've never made that connection. That's very interesting. Yeah, you're right. You're honestly right.
I like chip systems. I like anything that sort of resembles the maintaining your inventory in Resident Evil 4. That's my shit. Like Prey 2017 doing that.
Yeah, they did do that.
Yeah, but anything else you're looking forward to?
I'm trying to think if there's a big game that I'm on the. Honestly, it's really not right now. Just little shits, little indie stuff, and compilations like that, and some re-releases. Yeah, I don't think I have I'm really looking. I mean, stuff that's way far in the future, like Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 or whatever, right? But honestly, outside of that, not really right now.
Yeah, I don't know if there are any major 2024 releases for video games besides Indiana Jones is coming out in the winter.
Yeah, Indiana Jones, and I only have a PS5, so I'd be waiting for that for next year.
Oh wait, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom's coming out in September.
Oh, of course, duh. Yeah, there's so much stuff on the docket I forgot. Yeah, I just pre-ordered that yesterday.
And you know what? We talked about Astrobot last episode you were on, but I'm also looking forward to the new Astrobot too. There's still
that's
stuff
gonna be hot.
Hell yeah.
That's gonna be so good. I love that that little demo gave him the inroad to make a full game. That's so cool.
It's great. Yeah, I'm excited about it. Let's talk about Mario. I went back and listened to the Mario 3 episode you were on, and I realized we never really talked about Mario spin-offs. We talked about mainline Mario quite a bit, but we didn't really talk about which Mario spin-offs we loved. And I wanted to know if you had any strong feelings about any of the Mario spin-offs, whether they're Wario forward, Luigi forward, sports, kart, whatever your poison is.
I mean, I've always been a Mario Kart person. I guess everyone has. But yeah, ever since the beginning, I've always loved Mario Kart, every single one of them. Mario Party, the original Mario Party we played that a lot. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga was kind of a revelation for me when that came out, because I was never the biggest Paper Mario fan, or famously, as everyone yells at me, I do not like Super Mario RPG. So that's one thing I also don't like. I was just oh man, they're making another Mario RPG. Okay, fine. And I tried this one and I loved it. I fucking love Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, and most of the sequels too. That's a series I really love. I think if there's any Mario series I love the most, it is Mario and Luigi.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally get it. The Mario and Luigi games were the things that I played growing up. When I got a Game Boy Advance when I was a kid, that was one of the first games I got for it. It was actually the following Christmas or something like that, but it was I remember getting Mario World and Yoshi's Island for the Game Boy Advance, and then later on getting Superstar Saga and being blown away as a 7-year-old that there could be an alternate gaming style for Mario.
Yeah,
that wasn't platforming, and I played the hell out of that thing. That art style is so charming. The music by the Kingdom Hearts composer, who also did the music for Mario
Yoko
RPG.
Shimomura.
Yeah, Yoko Shimomura. Incredible music. It's as at home as Koji Kondo's music is.
Yeah, it pretty much is. It became synonymous with, yeah, and it's weird to think about that game is now old enough to drink, and it's it's crazy, man.
Oh, I mean, buddy, if you want to talk about this, let me just front load it before I get into the episode. Mario Galaxy is 17 years old this year.
Woo.
And we talked about Mario 3 when you were last on. That is a game that was 17 years old in North America when Mario Galaxy came out. So that means
man.
Mario Galaxy is now as old as Mario 3 was to Americans and as old as Super Mario World was in Japan, because that's when it came out in late 1990. And
yeah, that is, oh man, I can't even, where is the time gone? I am ancient. I'm only 42. It makes me feel like I'm 142 when I think about it that way. Jesus Christ.
I posted that on like Blue Sky, and all the replies were, "Don't say that. Don't tell people that."
Yeah, it's wild, man. Yeah, the passage of time. But Mario, I mean, shit. I mean, I think that's a testament to it always feels timeless, right? I for this podcast, I went back and played the game, and it's just like it feels better. It's better than I remember it being.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's an enduring game. I mean, think about any other 17-year-old game that holds up as well.
I can't. It's tough. Not from that era, that's for sure.
There's games I still like. Portal is also from that year, but
oh, sure. Yeah,
we'll talk about the games that came out in 2007 that we do like and everything like that shortly. I do want to point out, Mario spinoffs, Mario Kart being the thing we brought up, and of course, we all love Mario Kart, don't we, folks?
Mm-hmm.
Mario Kart 8 has sold more than any other Mario game, including Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah. I'm sure between, and it already sold like 8 or 9 million copies on Wii U already, a system that not a whole lot of people had, and you sold it to more than half its audience.
Yeah.
And then you get it on the Switch and it just, becomes a complete juggernaut. That's crazy to me. This has to be the most profitable Nintendo game of all time, just by sheer fact that it's a port. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, specifically. I mean,
I'm somebody who is interested in keeping his Nintendo Switch Online Pass thing just to keep having access to the DLC. That's part of the reason I keep it going, is so I can have access to those tracks in addition to being able to play Nintendo 64 games or whatever for the show.
Yeah.
Mario Kart 8/Deluxe. Throw in those Wii U numbers. It is considered 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th best-selling video game of all time, and then
wow,
it's PUBG, Wii Sports, GTA 5, and Minecraft are the only things above it. And Wii Sports was a pack-in game.
Yeah, it was a pack-in game. Pretty much everywhere else, I think everywhere in the world except Japan. I think that's the only place it wasn't packed in.
Yeah,
but the numbers on that are still insane.
Yeah, no, so it's just wild to conceive the fact that like the best-selling Mario game ever is technically a spin-off, but also somebody whose like main perception of Mario would be, oh yeah, the kart guy.
Yeah, but that's the thing about Nintendo, so smart about that. It's like they know that the main Mario series is important. They know they can't just make Mario Kart and Mario Party and stuff like that. It's Mario Wonder still has to happen. Mario Odyssey still has to happen, right? That fuels everything else. And they get that. I feel like there's a lot of companies that might just see that. It's like, well, start banging out Mario Karts, right? And Nintendo doesn't do that.
Yeah. Talking quickly about other Mario spin-off games I love like the first few Mario parties. Specifically 5 is the one I had the weirdest affection for, because I had it on the GameCube and it had like a bunch of side games. Like instead of a kart racer, it had like a battle kart mini game where you made like a tank that would face off against other tanks. And I just got really obsessed with that one mini game. It's like you go to Professor Egad's lab and he's like, yeah, make a fucking machine to hurt people. And you're like, say no more.
Yes. I've been training my whole life for this moment.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you anything about like how good the mini games were on that. I remember that having that one being like the weird capsule system for bonuses, but I can't say a lot about the fact that there is a tank mini game I spent a lot of time on.
Yeah, Mario Party 4, you said?
5.
Okay, yeah. I feel like that's one that a lot of people like.
Yeah. There was that Mario Golf RPG sort of thing on the Game Boy.
Oh yeah, good stuff there. Yeah,
I remember playing that as a kid, and then my brother's selling it or something, and I like was one of those things like, was that a real game? Was that real?
Yes, it was. It was very real. Oh, I love Mario Power Tennis on GameCube. That's like my favorite Mario sports game. That particular one. I don't know why that particular. I think it's just, I don't know. It's so much better than 64 to me. It's definitely way better than whatever happened on Wii U or whatever. I like Mario Tennis Aces on Switch. Don't get me wrong, but that's a fundamentally different game. Mario Power Tennis is it for me.
I have a very, reflexive take right now that if we looked at all of like the Mario spin-offs across consoles and we looked at the GameCube, it would weirdly have the best ones. But that's also
I
because like
think
there was
so.
only one non-spin-off Mario game on that entire console. Because it's like that's
Yeah.
the Mario Strikers was on that one, Mario Power Tennis. That 1,000-Year Door is basically the the Mario game for some people. Yeah, no, and like I said, my beloved Mario Party 5 with my little tank mini games on there too. Oh, and Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, Luigi's Mansion, of course. The launch game, Luigi's Mansion. Still can't believe that happened. I'm glad it did, but
Yeah, the little brother
geez.
console.
Yep.
Oh, and then I like some of the Wario Land games.
Oh, I like Wario Land 4 for Game Boy Advance.
That's the one I played.
That's the one I like. Okay, see, that's the one I like. The Game Boy ones are, I don't know, hit or miss for me. Definitely Wario Land 4, though, is really good.
Mainline Mario game came out in the time since you were last here on the show. Mario Wonder, how'd you feel about that?
I really like Mario Wonder. It really hit the spot. People always think of this as a pejorative, and I do not think so. It's really just New Super Mario Bros. 5 with like a lot more imagination. And I know New Super Mario Bros. Is a bad word to a lot of people. To me, it's not. Because I do actually like that series for the most part. I like 3 out of 4 of them. One of them I think is terrible. But like New Super Mario Bros. U is like a really good game, and honestly it feels like just an extension of that, only again with the art style that's fresh and new, and of course the Wonder Flowers. It gives them carte blanche to do whatever the hell they want, right? So, which is always a good thing in Nintendo land. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't like a tip top, 10 out of 10 game for me, but no, I really enjoyed Mario Wonder. It was really great. Excellent music too.
Oh, incredible music. I talked about this in the Game of the Year episode I did, the blending of old sensibilities by having like literal old heads work on like the level design and then having newer Nintendo employees try and come up with new ideas in this 2D space really shines through in the principles of it. I don't necessarily disagree that it is like a new Super Mario Brothers with like a new art style and focused direction, I should say, because I mean it has Nabbit, it has multiple people that can be on the screen at once. Multiple players at once. So, I mean, like, a lot of that stuff is there, but it just feels a lot more focused instead of like, all right, Mario, that is a character that we can put in a side-scruping environment.
Yes, here is Mario. And this kind of gets me in trouble. That's also how I feel about Super Mario 3D World to a degree. I mean, I don't by any means hate that game, but it definitely just feels like, here is Mario. To me, like, it just doesn't have that like spark of imagination to me, and like Mario Wonder absolutely has that.
We all love Mario 3D World, and I like the Bowser's Fury spin-off a lot too, which uses a similar art style, which is standard Mario style, I guess. But I see what you mean, just because again there is the 4-player aspect of it, the fact that it's kind of in like the standard Mario style. There's not a lot of I see what you mean. I have my takes on it, but I won't argue with you.
Right, I get you. No.
I'm just glad that there's like a spark of life to this Mario in the mainline thing again, because the thing I was fixating so much on Mario Galaxy, which we'll talk about, is the art direction of it.
Yes.
How pretty it all is. And I like it that Mario is like doing artistic stuff again.
Yes, and goddamn, it doesn't get much more artistic than Galaxy, honestly.
Talking about Mario spin-offs again, do you think that there is a Mario spin-off opportunity that we're missing out on?
Man, they've done so much over the years, it's hard to even think of something. That's a really good question. Maybe... Well, see, I'm trying to think of what I would want, and everything I would want. It's like, I want a Mario shmup or something, and it's like, they're not going to do that, So I'm trying to think of something that would actually happen, though.
The thing is, like, what is unreasonable at this point? Because we have Mario hooping with Final Fantasy characters on a DS. We have Mario doing tactic shooters with the Rabbids. Like, we have him at the Olympic Games with Sonic. You can say you want a shmup, and it's fine. I just talked about how there was a tank mini game in Mario Party 5.
Man, yeah, see, I don't know. It's because he can do everything, it's almost hard to pick one thing, Maybe, I don't know, what could a Mario shmup be? I'm trying to think of how to, like, Mario-fy that. Just like your basic cute-em-up, like a Twin Bee, or like a... See, I don't know. It's tough.
I can see a reskin working where you don't even necessarily have to do too much, but like you can just like make it so like, oh, I got this star upgrade and now my ship is invincible and I can like use that to like hit enemies on the thing for a limited period of time. Or I got the fire one, which makes my spread wider. I think there'd be a very interesting way of making it mix with like side scrolling or with like side scrolling principles where you have Mario as like a, what is it? What is that Landmaster side-scrolling game?
Oh,
Master Blaster, something like that.
Oh, Blaster Master. Yeah,
Blaster Master.
Blaster Master. Yeah.
Master Blaster's the enemy from fucking Mad Max 3.
Master Blaster runs Bartertown.
I think there's a way of making it work with also like incorporating the way that power-ups work in Mario, possibly.
Yeah, the power-ups could obviously just directly translate to like shmup power-ups, so that makes a lot of sense.
I think the way that you would make it work is just not have it star Mario. If you make it Wario's shmup or something like that. If you want that to be the Waluigi minigame.
Maybe that's the direction to go, because like WarioWare has done a lot of weird shmuppy things, you know? Like maybe that's the way to go with it. It's like a Wario thing.
Yeah, if we can put Kirby in a mech, I'm sure we can find a Mario character that people want to play as, who can like do a shmup, either a side-scrolling or a pop and Schwinby sort of thing.
Planet Robobot is so good. That game is so inspired. It's so great.
I still have to check that one out.
It's so good.
Yeah, but American Football Mario, that's also an option.
Oh, I would love that. I thought about that like in the Wii era a lot. It's like, I would love American Football Mario. Honestly, that would be great.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of fun that you could have if you'd like, one, it would be able to teach like kids how like football works by putting Mario characters in there, because that's how a lot of people get some interest, is like, oh, Mario Golf, I know of that. Or Mario Tennis. I think that having like little announcers be like a Piranha Plant or something like that would be just fun. I don't know.
That'd be pretty peak, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I do like your shmup idea a lot. I'm thinking a lot about how that would work now.
Yeah, the power, like you're on it with the power-ups, right? That would just make it so much fun.
Yeah. Because what was that? Did you play that Princess Peach game that came out earlier? I haven't.
Yeah, I didn't like it that much. It had some really good ideas. I just don't think they were executed like great. But like, yeah, I did play it. It was a good idea. It just didn't really hit.
It's the most late era Nintendo console kind of game to me. That's the vibes of it was what I was sensing off of it, and it seemed to be confirmed because they weren't talking about who the developer was. And
yeah, also performance was not great, and I'm a stickler for performance, especially since Nintendo games are very performant, as we're gonna probably talk about here with Mario Galaxy. But like, yeah, they just it ran like shit, and it just didn't. I don't know, it didn't hit.
Yeah, I hear you. I guess I won't check it out then. But you talk about how you're a stickler about things. You're famously a contentious person on Fine Time in terms of when you have like group discussions on games, you're kind of the most critical in many senses. But I don't think that that's necessarily a bad quality to have. I do think a healthy sense of cynicism is important, but I do also understand why people being a little frustrated sometimes. But I have a little segment for you. Where I want to get your Mario hot takes before we talk about the game proper. I have a list of questions here. I curated a list of hot takes that I see people talk about online with regards to Mario, because even though this guy is kind of the Mickey Mouse of Nintendo and kind of is like this thing where you can do anything with it, the popularity of Mario is a double-edged sword, because while he is like a Mickey Mouse figure who doesn't necessarily invite any controversy, he is also a character that has done so much, like being the star of multiple RPGs, multiple RPG spinoffs when you really think about it and assess it. And even though he's not the kind of thing that's very lore rich, people just have a lot of strong opinions about Mario. So here are some things I generally see people talk about online, and I want to see where you land on them. First question. There's no reason to play any Mario Kart game except the newest one.
I don't think that's true. And this, you know what? This will get me in trouble, okay? I feel like every Mario Kart is worth going back to except 64. I think that's the only one I think you could probably say, okay, I don't necessarily need to play this one inside and out. I feel like even Super Mario Kart and SNES, I think everything else gives you something where it's like, okay, this has unique stuff. I think 64 is the only one I never feel like going back to. Everything else, yeah.
Yeah, like Mario Kart 64 was the one I grew up playing as a kid. I remember the Mad Catz like wheel controller and everything like that. But I can't say it's the most fun hang to go back to. But to your point, yeah, I do think it is worth playing the other ones besides the newest one.
Especially DS and Wii. I think those are definitely worth going back to.
I like the mission systems in DS. I do think it's worth going back and seeing how this can be like something that could be incorporated in a future titles.
For sure. I'm surprised they never brought that back. I love that thing. Yeah.
A lot of replay value in that. And I like the fact that you could play as like a bulldozer. So
it's great. The cars in that are just DS is so much fun.
The DS is really great. Fun. Yeah. Next question. Waluigi should be in the mainline Mario games.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. I just don't know how you would incorporate him at this point. I guess they could do whatever they want, right? They could just have, like, instead of Wario, if they want to bring back Wario as like the true villain, they could be like with Waluigi, the two of them. You know, I love their relationship. And that's another thing. That's another reason why I love Mario Power Tennis, is because they're not like friends. They're just banding together because they hate Mario. They have a common enemy. You know, and that's the intro of like Mario Power Tennis shows that. And I think that's like really fun. So if they could play off of that in like a mainline game, yeah, I'm okay with it. That would be a lot of fun.
Sure. There are definitely people who are like annoyed that, you know, Mario Wonder has Nabbit as an option and not, say, Waluigi, for example. And I do feel like that's not unreasonable, I suppose. But it is this kind of thing where it's like, I don't think there almost seems to be an unspoken rule of like, this guy can't cross over. We don't know what his deal is. We're so scared of him.
Yeah. And like Nabbit, as far as Nabbit goes, that is already codified in everyone's brain as like, this is easy mode right here if you pick Nabbit. So that's what everyone's used to. So yeah.
He was invented so Wario could have a duo in tennis. And now this is a guy who's got a lot of shooters. And especially if people are focused on the meta of Mario Kart 8 racing.
Yeah, the Waluigi is. Yeah, I never really pick him in anything. He's not like my favorite character or anything. But no, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I remember people wanted him in Smash Ultimate, and I was like, sure, yeah, why not? I don't know.
It is a thing I'm slightly bitter about because I was a guy who liked to pick Waluigi in these kinds of games because he's purple, but he's become such a meme, and then the Mario Kart meta has like sort of soured me on the. There's almost a stigma of being a Waluigi player now.
I actually pick Wario a lot in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That's kind of who I like.
Yeah, I'm back to being a full-time Yoshi, I guess. So next part of this question: do you think Waluigi should be in Smash?
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. He should be. When he showed up as a assist trophy in Ultimate, people were like, "Oh no," you know, it's like, you know, I get it. There's Sakurai only has so many new character slots. He's not going to spend it on fucking Waluigi. So, you know, I understand that. At the same time, yeah, absolutely. He could have all the stuff like Peach, you know, Peach hits you with like the tennis racket or the golf club or something like that. He would absolutely do that because Waluigi's now like the sports guy. Yeah. Right. Like, so you could incorporate all that stuff, have him throw baseballs, just have him be sports Waluigi. Oh, God. I love the outfit he has in Mario Tennis Aces. Like, just make him wear that, you know, just it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely see it because he is the spinoff guy. And it makes sense that, you know, this crossover series, it would have the spinoff guy in it in some way. I just think that that's a good narrative to incorporate.
For sure.
Next question. The Lost Levels is an unfair game.
Yeah. It's unfair. It's trolly. It's weird. It gave birth to all the ROM hacks. It's the ROM hack before there was actually ROM hacks. That's what that game is. And that's fine. I don't hate that game, but there's a reason why it didn't come out here and we got something else, you know, like, and they made the right call. Yeah, it's unfair.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's one of those things where like the reputation is like, oh, it was so hard. It couldn't be released in North America because we're dum-dums. And then you play it and it's like, this game is agony. I can't believe that this was released as a commercial product that people spent money on because I can't imagine it was meant to do anything but piss you off.
That's why I think they put it direct to Famicom Disk System because it was like, yeah, just, you know, just put this out. Here's your weird level pack fuckers. Here's your, you know, and yeah, I'm sure Nintendo of America was like, guys, no.
Yeah.
So
like it's fine as like a bonus in like an All-Stars kind of thing. But the idea that this is like the thing to play.
Nah.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Mario is more well known than Pikachu.
Yeah, sure. I think so. That's got to be true.
I definitely think like people like would be able to name Mario more. I think that there's like the word Pokemon is almost intuitive in like the collective consciousness at this point because Pokemon is now like the highest grossing media franchise of all time.
Yeah.
But I do think if you're like pointing at Pikachu specifically or Mario specifically, that person would be like Mario. Yeah.
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 And they might say, oh, that's the thing from Pokemon, but will they be able to say Pikachu? I think most people would, right? But I don't think everybody would. Everybody will be able to say Mario worldwide.
Yeah. It's like, I can't think of anybody who would see Mario and just like not into it somehow. Mario, just that guy looks like a Mario. I don't know.
Yeah. Even if you never heard, it's like, yeah, Mario, sure. Yes. It's in our DNA now as humans. So we are now Mario'd.
All right, next one. Mario games don't need lives anymore.
That's not true. I really don't like the discussions out there of like lives are arbitrary back then. Why do games have limited continues and shit? Like I really don't like those discussions. Games were made that way for a reason. And I think Mario having lives back in the day or even now, that's just the way it is. You know, I was talking about this with someone recently. Like, yeah, we can take different approaches. Like Sonic Superstars, the one that came out last year, that doesn't have lives, but it still has time limits. And then Mario Wonder has lives, but that doesn't have time limits, right? So they're going for different things here. You can play that up. And like Super Mario Brothers 2 doesn't have a time limit, right? So like you can play with that formula. Not every single platformer that's 2D needs to have lives and time limits and continues and all this stuff. It's a game design thing, and lives are game design. So I think if you say that no lives are outdated or Mario games shouldn't have them, well, I think you're just not understanding what they're doing.
Gotcha. Thank you. So that's why Mario Odyssey sucks, because it doesn't have lives in it. Moving on.
Yep. It sucks. Yeah. Terrible.
To clarify, I do love Mario Odyssey for those.
That's my favorite game of the 2010s, Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. But thank you for your impassioned argument for living.
Thank you.
All right. Princess Daisy is hotter than Princess Peach.
Can't stand Daisy. I gotta go Peach.
All right.
I cannot stand that lady. Sorry.
I'm a little thrilled that you were able to answer so quickly. Actually, like,
I've been thinking about this for years.
I was like, is he going to get defensive over this? I don't know. But no, all right, we're powering through. Great. All right, last 3 questions are this or that. You ready?
Okay.
All right. Taken as a whole, 3D Mario or 2D Mario?
Oh my good God. 3D Mario, and it hurts to say it, but 3D Mario by a hair, just a hair.
I hear you. Yeah. The thing is, like, there's not as much 2D Mario as you would sense from across 40 years of time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those new Super Mario Brothers games, but it's like Mario, Mario 2, Mario 3, World, technically Yoshi's Island, and then nothing. Then New Super Mario Brothers, New Super Mario Brothers 2, New Super Mario Brothers Wii, New Super Mario U, and then Wonder, right? Am I missing anything big?
No, that's it to me.
Okay.
Unless you want to go Game Boy and stuff, which I don't think that really counts right now.
I like Land 2 a lot, but I don't know about Land 1.
I like them.
Yeah.
I like them. Don't get me wrong. It just, yeah.
Yeah, no, when you really think about it, it is crazy that there wasn't like an original Game Boy Advance Mario game when you think about it.
We all expected something like that. That was like rumored for a long time. And then New Super Mario Brothers happened on DS. And it's like, oh, maybe this is what that became. But yeah, that was like the rumor for the early 2000s. But yeah, I think 3D just a hair, just by a hair.
Yeah, we're just about almost even with how many 3D and like mainline 2D Mario games there are, because 64, Sunshine, Galaxy 2, and then 3D Land and World, and then Odyssey. Yeah, shit.
Yeah.
And then you can throw Bowser's Fury on there as
you can.
Yeah.
That feels like a whole game anyway. So
it is a complete experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. Shit. Okay. Yeah. I think I picked 3D too when I look at it from those.
Wow.
Yeah. You kind of already answered this one, but I wrote it down, so you have to answer it. Mario and Luigi or Paper Mario?
Oh, for sure, Mario and Luigi. I am not a Paper Mario fan. Yeah. I'm just not. I find the pacing real glacial for me, especially the original. And I played back in the day when it came out, I played like 8 to 10 hours, 1,000 Year Door, and I'm like, I can't. It doesn't hit for me. And I know, sorry, everybody. I know that's everyone's favorite, but like, yeah, Paper Mario does not do it. Mario and Luigi absolutely does. That shit's snappy. It feels good. It has a sense of humor that I like. Paper Mario's sense of humor just doesn't hit for me either. So yeah, I think that's part of it as well. But yeah, definitely Mario and Luigi.
I like them both, but I definitely have this lean towards Mario and Luigi, partially because it's the one I played first. I had the 1,000 Year Door as a kid, but I never finished it, and I am really excited about this remake because it does give me the opportunity to go back and revisit that.
Looks beautiful.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. But I believe in my heart just because like the humor and the music and everything like that, and like the style of it, that I love the style of the Mario and Luigi games. And RIP Alpha Dream, but I'm excited about the new Mario and Luigi coming out in the future.
Yeah, I hope that's really good. I really hope that's something.
Mm-hmm.
That's November, right?
I think so. Yeah,
Man,
another game to look forward to. Look at that.
Yeah, see, I forgot about it. See, there's so much. I wasn't even thinking the Nintendo stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking about like, in terms of big AAA games, the rest of the year is kind of dry besides like Dragon Age and a couple other things. But I'm trying to think. I was just trying to think like, what is the big thing people are getting hyped for? But there's just a lot of little cool things that are exciting. And that's not to dismiss what's coming out, but it is just this, hey guys, this AAA release thing is probably showing how glacial it is in this new development side.
Yep, pretty much, yeah. But those are the games that really get me excited. I don't play a whole lot of like big AAA stuff typically, so like, yeah, these are the things I look forward to.
Yeah. Last question here: Mario 64 or Mario 64 DS?
Would you believe I've never thought about this before?
Really?
Yeah, I think I will pick DS. I think the extra stars really give something to the game. I think playing as the other characters, I think playing as Wario is so much fun. Yoshi with his little flutter jump. Yeah, man, I think I'm going DS on this one. Everyone bitches about the way it controls, but like I don't know if you remember like the first DSs came with a little thumb strap. You'd strap it on your thumb and you'd put it on the touchscreen, so you wouldn't have to use a stylus. If you use that with Mario 64, which I think is the way it's kind of meant to be played, yeah, it controls just fine. It's a little wonky at first, but it's a learning curve. And I think I would pick DS. That's probably sacrilege to a lot of people, but yeah, DS for me.
Yeah, that was my primary experience through Mario 64. I remember being at like a person's house and watching them play it a little bit as a kid, but like my first time actually getting my hands on it myself was on a DS. But I love both experiences. I think in terms of even the art style, the more rudimentary style of 96, 64 still is endearing to me. So I see the case for both, and I definitely like understand the frustration of the controls. But as a kid, I was able to power through it. So I'm sure as an adult, I could too.
Yeah, I didn't think, like I said, I thought it was a little weird. No, it's not as precise as like using the N64 controller, but it's still, I don't know. I got all 150 stars. I'm sure it wasn't too bad, right? So
as if the original experience was this really tight experience.
Yeah, and I love Mario 64, obviously I do, but like, come on, let's not pretend it was like this paragon of like, tightness.
Yeah, no, I played it on 3D All-Stars at re-release, and I had a great time with it still to this day. It holds up, but it is like, I can't say it's like perfect in every single minute of game feel. But yeah, that concludes my questions on these Mario hot takes here. Thanks for being such a good sport about it.
I love those kind of questions. That's what Fine Time is built off of, honestly, just shooting the shit about stuff like that. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's going to crucify you. If you've made it to this part, we're finally going to get to the main event here. We're going to talk about the game that you picked, the game that we're going to talk about for the 50th episode of Select and Start. So LETSAGO, it's a me. I'm Mario. It's Super Mario Galaxy.
I like it.
Thanks. Super Mario Galaxy is a 3D platform game developed and published by Nintendo for the Wii. It is the third Mario game we've covered on the show, somehow only 3. Previously, we talked about Mario 3 with you, Dre, and then Mario RPG with Alex from the One Piece podcast. Development for Super Mario Galaxy spun out of Super Mario 128, a tech demo shown at Space World 2000, which was intended to show off the processing power and possibilities of the upcoming Nintendo GameCube. The demo involved a series of Marios spawning and moving across a circular board which could change shape. The Marios would continue to spawn until 128 of them were moving around the board. The demo was never intended to be a full game, but aspects of it would be incorporated into future Nintendo titles. Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario and Zelda, fixated on the idea of Mario running around on spherical worlds, believing it could be an inventive way to address the issues players were having navigating 3D spaces in video games, namely controlling the camera. Yoshiaki Koizumi, who directed the demo and previously served as an assistant director for Mario 64 and co-led development of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, agreed the idea was compelling but technically infeasible to make a full game out of. Koizumi would go on to direct Mario Sunshine and Donkey Kong Jungle Beat before Miyamoto would have him revisit the spherical world concept. Koizumi and a team of Nintendo EAD employees spent 3 months developing a prototype of the physics system, making the spherical platforms into planetoids, and making gravity a major feature of navigating to different spherical platforms. This led to the idea of setting the game in outer space, and from this demo emerged what would go on to become Super Mario Galaxy!
A+.
Thanks. Ease of play also became a core tenet of the development philosophy, wanting to make the game accessible to beginners and people who have a harder time navigating 3D spaces. A spin move was added to supplement jumping as a way of dealing with enemies, as Koizumi found jumping to be less precise in 3D spaces. The number of necessary button inputs was kept to a minimum, both to make it a more accessible experience and to account for the fewer buttons on the Wii Remote compared to a standard controller. In addition to being the director, Yoshiaki Koizumi also served as the game's designer and contributed to the game's story, which was scripted by Takayuki Ikaku. Koichi Hayashida was the game's level design director, with Naoki Koga serving as the program director. Kenta Motokura was the lead character designer. Masafumi Kawamura was the game's sound director. And I could spend hours talking about the score of this game. This is the first Mario game to use a live orchestra for its soundtrack. The game's music was composed by Mahito Yokota, who was professionally trained in orchestral composition. Yokota previously worked with Koizumi on Donkey Kong Jungle Beat and was mentored by Koji Kondo, who was the longtime composer for Mario and Zelda. Yokota spent 3 months trying to come up with the game's sound, first taking influence from Latin and pop music. Koizumi approved the results, but Koji Kondo did not, saying, quote, "Yokota-san, if somewhere in your mind you have an image that Mario is cute, please get rid of it. Mario is cool." End quote. Which almost made him quit. He almost quit over that. Like he was like, I spent 3 months on this, and Mr. Mario himself said, "Fuck you."
That's amazing.
Yokota would then go on to present Shigeru Miyamoto with 3 pieces of music: 1 pop track, 1 fully orchestral track, and 1 that was a mix of both pop and orchestra. Miyamoto went with the fully orchestrated track, believing it was the most space-like, in his words. This piece was Egg Planet, which was composed by Koji Kondo and would go on to be used in the Good Egg Galaxy level. This and 3 versions of the track Rosalina in the Observatory were Koji Kondo's contributions to the soundtrack. Mahito Yokota, taking both Miyamoto and Koji Kondo's direction into account, composed the rest of the game with this orchestral sound. And none of this is to be like, hey, no, Mahito Yokota got shit on and that's funny. No, he composed 77 tracks for this game and knocked it out of the park. He did an incredible job here. It's just like a story about like how it takes a lot of work from a lot of people to make success is 1,000 parents, or whatever the saying is. It was a tremendous feat. Again, 81 total tracks in this game. 77 of those were Yokota's. As for the story, every 100 years, a comet appears in the skies above the Mushroom Kingdom. The comet was so large one year, it filled the skies and sent countless shooting stars raining down. The Toads brought the shooting stars to the castle, where they became a great power star. This was the night of the Star Festival, held once every 100 years to celebrate the comet. Now, Princess Peach sends a letter to Mario asking her to meet him at the castle on the night of the Star Festival, as she has something to give him. As Mario arrives at the festival, Bowser attacks the Mushroom Kingdom with his fleet of airships, encasing the citizens in crystals. Bowser then descends upon Princess Peach at her castle, where she is clutching a Luma, a star-shaped creature, in her arms. Bowser uses a giant flying saucer to lift Peach's castle into space, telling her that she is invited to the creation of his galaxy. Before Mario can stop it, Bowser's wizard minion Kamek launches him into space. Mario wakes up on a new planet where he meets the Luma that was with Peach as Bowser invaded the kingdom. The Luma introduces Mario to Rosalina, a space princess whose traveling comet observatory is the comet that flies over the Mushroom Kingdom every 100 years. Bowser has stolen the power stars to fuel her observatory. and Mario must go to the various themed galaxies around the universe, take back these stars, and travel to the center of the universe to save Princess Peach. Shenanigans ensue. So this one is more story-driven than a lot of Mario experiences, and we'll get to that shortly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mario Galaxy was released on the Wii in November of 2007. Other games released in 2007, Dre: BioShock, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, Halo 3, The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass, Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga, Mass Effect, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, Ratchet & Clank Future Tools of Destruction, Uncharted, The Orange Box, which includes titles like Half-Life 2 Episode 2, Team Fortress 2, and Portal, which I previously discussed on the show with Adequate Emily. Dre, how many of these games have you played?
Quite a few. Actually, I've never played BioShock. I'm going to play the entire trilogy for Fine Time soon, actually. So I'm going to cover those. Metroid Prime 3, probably my favorite game of that year, if that was not Mario Galaxy. How dare you not mention my baby Dynasty Warriors Gundam? Okay, how dare you?
Yeah.
I'm a Warriors freak. So in the 2000s, we were eating good. So yeah, Dynasty Warriors Gundam, and like, I think Samurai Warriors 2 had just hit 360. Oh my god, I was eating.
Fair enough. I was deliberately looking for like space themed stuff to throw in here because this is such a space themed game, and I should have put on a Dynasty Warriors Gundam on there. Fair point.
That is space. But yeah, man. I don't know. I forget if you said Blue Dragon or not.
I did not say Blue Dragon. But
yeah,
yes,
Blue Dragon was one for me too. Yeah, 2007, pretty good year.
Solid year, yeah. Some people try and make the case that it's the greatest year in gaming. That's not the conversation we're going to have. Lots of great years for games, but it is definitely a defining year for the genre. Like, this is the first Uncharted game, Portal 2, Team Fortress 2, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, and things like Halo 3 really changed the trajectory in terms of where people's priorities are in terms of what first-person gaming is to be.
Yeah,
and I love the first two BioShock games. End of sentence.
We're gonna play Infinite as well. We're gonna see the whole thing.
Yeah, look, you got to see it through. I have played BioShock Infinite like 2 or 3 times. When I say that I don't care for it, it comes from a place where it's like, yeah, but if I revisit the first 2, I just have to power through 3 for some reason.
Yep.
Yeah, which is probably not helping it in my estimation, this insistence on doing it. But it's like, what, 6 hours of my day?
Yeah.
Anyway. Like you said, this was a good year for games. What ultimately made you settle on Mario Galaxy as the game you wanted to come on and talk about?
Man, it's just, for that era, it came along at the right time for me, because I don't know, how old was I in 2007? 25. And this is a time when, I guess, AAA games, as we kind of know them, as you alluded to, just sort of to take root, right? Things were becoming much more cinematic and expensive and bigger, and I, at the same time, much less performant and, in my opinion, less imaginative as well in cases, and sometimes less fun for me. It was an adjustment period for me. I think Mario Galaxy just gave me that, like, oh yeah, this is why I play video games. This is what I'm here for. Especially like the first year of Wii, it was clear that we weren't really getting those Nintendo hardcore experiences anymore. It was like, it was Wii Sports. And don't get me wrong, I love the new stuff. I'm here for change, right? But it was also like, hey, at the same time, I need my meat and potatoes. And Mario Galaxy was my meat and potatoes and then some.
You weren't excited about Excite Truck? Come on. It's got Excite in the name.
I hated it. Excite Truck made me so mad on launch day of Wii. I threw my Wiimote across the room and the batteries went ping. And I am not a controller thrower. I get mad at a lot of stuff. I can be kind of a hothead. I typically do not throw controllers. That was one time where I did. It made me so pissed.
So you're the reason they have to put the warning on the
Yeah. On day one, I flinged that fucking thing across the room. I couldn't stand Excite Truck. But yeah, I was, for me, Wii was like a lot of virtual console and catching up on TurboGrafx 16, a system I never had. So it's like, okay, this is a TurboGrafx 16, plus I can play some Wii games, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Mario Galaxy just gave me that jolt that I needed. Besides Metroid Prime 3, of like, yeah, this is why I came here. And I think that's why it was important to me at that time. And I loved it at the time. It was my favorite Mario game to date at the time. And going back and revisiting it on 3D All-Stars on Switch, it's better than I remember. It's better. I didn't expect that. It's even better. It's incredible, this game.
A lot of like the games that we played 17 years ago are like kind of difficult to go back to for whatever reason, whether that is just because like the kind of, again, the grounded, realistic kind of art style was trying to take hold, where people were trying to show off the graphical fidelity of the thing. But this has such like a very specific art direction that is very pretty to look at, first of all, but also like a lot of the gameplay principles and design principles of it feel so inspired and enduring that the fact that it just sort of like throws realism out the window and it's just focused on giving like such a directed, guided experience in these worlds makes it hold up.
Yeah. It's one of those games where, and Odyssey is the same way too, where it feels like Nintendo said to everybody, okay, give me all your ideas, all your great ideas, all your shitty ideas, everything you got, give it to me. And everything made it into the game. It feels like that, but it doesn't feel like a mess. It feels like a cohesive game where it's like people are having so much fun. What if we do this? What if we do that? And it all works under the guise of Mario Galaxy. You know what I mean? And it's just so great to feel. That's why you want to see like every level and see every boss and see even though you don't have to do that. In this game, you could do even less. You only have to get 60 out of the 120 stars to beat the game, right? Instead of 70 like you do in Sunshine and 64. But you want to see it all because it's so imaginative and you want to see everything that they brought to the table.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, like I was able to replay this game with about a week's notice ahead of our recording here. And I did the 60 star things and I was like, I'm still pretty peckish. I'm going to do a few more. I only needed to do the 6. I only wanted to just play it to jog my memory of the thing, because I definitely played it on the Wii when I had the Wii coming up, as well as Galaxy 2, which we'll talk about later. But I played that, and then I revisited it a bit when Mario 3D All-Stars came out, and this is the version I played for this episode. And
Me too.
I could keep eating. I could go for seconds. So I just like kept playing a few more of the levels. It does feel like an all ideas welcome game. It feels very true to the essence of like a Mario platformer in a way that the 3D games couldn't fully explore because they were so fixated on stages and having multiple objectives within the same stages. So there's just like, I can feel like people sitting in a room and just being like, ideas now, and somebody going, what if you could ice skate on lava? And he said, brilliant, I'm writing that down. And then another guy raising their hand and was like, what if you were on a ball and it kind of sucked? And he's like, terrible, but it's also going in. Same amount of levels.
Yeah, just everything. Put it all in, and it's fantastic, man. Just whoever came up with the theming. Oh, by the way, before we get too far down the road, Yoshiaki Koizumi, as you were talking about when you were introducing Mario Galaxy, man, he is the most undersung. Forget about Nintendo, just in this industry in general. What he has done for Nintendo and just video games is just astronomical. I think a lot of people got to know him when he started doing the Switch presentations, like whether it's like directs or even just like the unveiling of Switch or whatever. I think that's when people really put a face to the name, if they ever knew his name to begin with. But this guy, man, what he has done. I love Donkey Kong Jungle Beat is one of my favorite GameCube games, period. Everything this guy touches is just, and I know I think he directed Odyssey or had a huge hand in it, and you can tell
he was a producer.
He's the best. Yeah, he's the absolute best. Shout outs to Yoshiaki Koizumi.
Because he's a producer now, and producers in video games is not like the same as a producer in movies, where it's like a guy came into a room and gave us money and said, make the movie. Yeah. You see like produced by Shigeru Miyamoto in a lot of games, especially in like the late 90s and early 2000s. And then you read a production of it and it was like, and then Miyamoto was said like, change this entire game. And then we had to change the entire game. So it's like these people have a lot of weight to it. And like Koizumi's producer role in Odyssey could be felt in a lot of ways in terms of like how like the design principles and like letting them stretch out like what Mario can look like and feel like in these spaces can definitely be felt. This is a guy who's come up in a couple episodes of the show now because we've covered games that he's been a part of, but he definitely an unsung hero, and we'll talk about like his story contributions as we get further on too. Yeah, great creator. Thank you for shouting that out.
Yeah, he's just the best. He's so good.
Did you play this game like on launch day when it came out?
Yes, got it day one. Couldn't wait for it. Went to that GameStop. My roommate at the time worked at GameStop, so had no problem getting that right. Right, didn't have to wait in the big line. I felt so privileged, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, I loved it. I couldn't put it down until I got all 120 stars, which was not the case for like the previous ones. Sunshine, I never got 120 shines. I just never really felt like doing the blue coin stuff, and I never will. 64 took me months because I was younger and I wanted to play other games too, and I pecked at that for like a long time till I got them all. Mario Galaxy I couldn't put down, man. It was just, like I said, to date, that was like the best Mario game for me. Now for me, Odyssey has surpassed that, but yeah, Galaxy, yeah, dude. I loved every second of it, and I did not want it to end.
No, yeah, it's a great time. It's one of those, like, it felt like the most important Mario game for sure at the time, but it also just felt super important to the medium because Mario's sort of been like the mascot of video games, and he's literally like going across the universe now. It felt so huge.
Yeah, it was just conceptually just bringing that home was just excellent. Their vision was fully realized, I feel like, and so much so that they had, I mean, yeah, the like we were talking about with the overflowing of ideas, the fact that they could just make a Galaxy 2, okay, here's more, just like that, and it's pretty much just as good. Or it's like, I cannot believe you guys right now. This is ridiculous.
Mario Galaxy was the game that sold me on the Wii as a concept, because I remember being kind of a hater at the time. And I was a guy who was a Nintendo kid, and I just wanted GameCube, but more from Nintendo. But I wasn't privy to how the industry was going. I thought that, like, the GameCube was doing just as well as the PlayStation when I was a kid, and absolutely fucking not. It wasn't.
No, not at all.
Like, I love that little console, but like, god damn, like, it was like people were ripping their hair out, Nintendo going, fuck.
Yeah, PS2 was the king. Everyone else was having scraps. That was the way it was.
Outsold the GameCube somehow. Like, that is a humiliation for them.
Yeah.
Like, marginal outselling, but like, it's the fact that Nintendo couldn't like make a definitive success out of the GameCube was like such a moment for them. Like, those games did well on the console because where else are you going to play Super Smash Brothers? But still, like, it was this big come to Jesus moment. But like, I just remember as like a 10 to 12-year-old going like, I don't like this because I like sitting down when playing game. But I was at a friend's house and he had Super Smash Brothers Brawl and he had Super Mario Galaxy, and we played both of those things. But like, the thing that like was like, oh god, Galaxy is like a really good game that I want to play, was like seeing just him walk around the observatory and then pick up the red star and fly around a little bit. And I was like, oh, okay, like normal games are on the Wii too. It's not just Wii Sports and we Play like the commercials show me. So that Christmas of 2008, got a Wii, and yep, been loving Mario Galaxy and like Super Smash Brothers Brawl since.
You know, something I think about is going back to Yoshiaki Koizumi. Do you remember the initial Switch presentation, January 2017, where they were showing the thing?
Yeah, I did a project on it as my senior thesis.
Oh wow! Okay, good. Okay, that's because I think about that presentation all the time. For Fine Time one day, we want to do like a riff track style or like DVD commentary style where we like do a podcast where you can watch that. Like we talk. We want to do that one day because we love that video. Anyway, point is, the very first two games they showed were 1-2 Switch and ARMS. Two like motion controlled weird things that didn't really become what the Switch would mainly do. I think, but it's weird because like obviously Koizumi is from that era, so it's like, was he just trying to be like, okay, this worked for Wii, this got everyone under the tent, or are we just trying to show this stuff where it's like, this is how you get the casual market? Or like, you know, in retrospect, it's kind of strange. I thought it was a bit strange at the time, but also now it's like, yeah, that was like kind of a weird move because that's not really where Switch went.
I mean, I feel the same way about the early 3DS games where it's like, this is the gimmick. And then like, it's like, okay, fuck you. We're making RPGs on this thing now. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
The Kid Icarus Uprising. Yeah, hell yeah. But like with the Switch presentation, I think what they were doing was just like having a few games that are very like, and the Switch can do this, and the Switch can do that, and the Switch can do this. And then it was like, okay, cool. We hear ya. Good to know. Anyway, well, we're putting indies. We're putting indies on this shit. We're putting all the little.
Yeah. By the way, here's Binding of Isaac, like at launch, right? Like,
yeah. Sonic Mania, right? You guys like Sonic? There we go. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which was for the better for it, but I think it was important for them to have like examples of things that could be done in case somebody wanted to do something with it, because it's an art form, but it is also a toy, the Switch, like it is something that has like many use cases. So I get it on that level. Show a parent or an older person who isn't as into games like, oh, you can do this with it. And they'll be like, okay, I'll get that.
Right. Yeah, and I was thinking about that the reason why I bring that up is in terms of Wii, I don't think they really did that at first. They were just showing all the new stuff you could do. They weren't really showing Mario Galaxy. Oh, maybe I should mention that. So the only E3 I've ever gotten the pleasure of going to was 2006.
Oh.
And this was the year Wii was showing at E3. I did not get to see the goddamn thing because the line was astronomical. It was wrapping around the booth twice, and you know how Nintendo was. They had in this covert thing. Only so many people could get in at a time. You had to wait in line and whatever. And by day 3 of E3, I was thinking to myself, I waited in line for like 10 minutes. I thought to myself, you know what? There's so much stuff I want to go see out there that I'm going to miss if I just stand in this line just for like seeing Wii for 10 minutes. So you know what? As much of a Nintendo fan as I am, I'm not going to do this. So I left. But my friends I went with who did do the line and got to play Mario Galaxy, I was so jealous, man. They were telling me all the stuff that was in there. And and in retrospect, I kind of wish I did, because this is like a year and a half before it came out. There's probably like a lot of beta stuff in there that probably didn't make the final game.
Yeah.
That I probably would have liked to have seen. I'm sure videos out there exist now. But like, yeah, man. So like I had a chance to play Mario Galaxy before it came out, but I did not get to.
You were very close though.
Yeah, it was very close.
It matters.
And Reggie walked by the line because we heard cheering around the corner. It's like, what are people excited about? And he was just kind of making a lap and waving to everybody. So I got to see Reggie, I guess. That was about it.
That's the story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, E3. Let's do a side tangent on E3 then. Because that was the place I always wanted to go to since I was aware of it. Like, I think maybe 2008, because it was like, no, it was E3 2009 was the first one I was aware of because of the Nintendo News channel on the Wii. Talking about, hey guys, you want to watch the news this week is we got games coming. You guys like games, that kind of thing. And it's like, oh yep. Shit, they got Punch Out. I don't know what that is, but I'd like to know. That kind of thing.
I love Punch Out 2009. Great game.
Yeah, it's a great looking game. And then the Sonic game where he has a sword, I'm sure that can't be bad. He has a sword. Like it was that experience. I was like 12 going on 13 that year.
Oh yeah.
And then like I was like, what is this thing? And then E3 2010 comes out, and that's like the E3 where they announce Skyward Sword. It's the E3 where they show off Super Mario Galaxy 2, Kirby's Epic Yarn, I think is in there too. It was a big E3. I feel like I couldn't tell you just purely off memory, but it felt like 2010 was just a big year for E3. And I was like, I gotta go to this place. I know I can just watch the trailers online, but it like at the time, if you were like a person who liked gaming a lot, it just felt like that was the place to be.
It was fun, man. It was a lot of fun. I'll always think about that E3 2006. Holy shit, 18 years ago now. God damn. And now we don't even have E3 anymore. But like, yeah, dude. No, it was the thing to go to. If you can, I'm sure like stuff like PAX or maybe even Summer Games Fest or maybe it even does the job nowadays. Who knows? But like, if you can go to a thing like that, anybody out there, and you, Keith, definitely go. It's fun to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll try and make it work. It'd be a great episode to do at the very least. But can I get my press pass because I am a. There we go.
That's how we got in. We knew someone who worked at SCEH, Sony Computer Entertainment America, so he kind of snuck us in, 3 of us. It was good.
Oh, nice. It'd be so funny if I could actually get press credentials for this show, because I am not I don't talk about games that are out now. I talk about games that have been out for years. You guys are announcing a collection of some kind. I can talk about that.
Yeah, I can talk all up and down about Capcom collections for sure.
Jeff, let me in. Don't listen to the episode where I shit on you for an entire hour.
You were so hard on him, man. I like the Game Awards, so I listen to you. I hear everything you said, man. But I get it. I get why you feel the way you feel.
I used to love watching these things live, and I just felt that time pass on the Game Awards, and I was like, why am I rotting? Why am I rotting right now? Is it because I'm cynical? Kind of, but like, let me explore that. Right, let me write some words down.
Nah, I hear you. You made a good show.
Yeah. I mean, like, I won't shit on you for 1998 if you won't shit on me for the.
No, we'll call a truce on that shit. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Look out. All right. let's talk about Mario Galaxy, but not before we talk about how people can play this game in my segment, No Country for Old Games. Now, before we talk about Super Mario Galaxy in greater detail, we have to talk about how readily available this game is, so those who are interested can check it out. As I say in every episode, the subject of video game preservation means a great deal to me, and I believe that video games are an art form that create experiences that leave impacts on people who play them. Just listening to the music of this game is just like an artistic expression in and of itself, and that's before even getting into the level design, which we will talk about shortly. But look, sometimes publishers don't care about keeping their games available, and sometimes there's software limitations and there's other problems that go into this. Not a problem for this game, as we'll get into, but hey, listen, the problem is sometimes it's hard to play older games. Let's talk about it on this segment and rate this game on a scale of A for available to ARG, and ARG is me being frustrated at how hard it is to play this game. It's not me covertly advocating for piracy. Piracy is illegal. R. So the game was originally released on Wii worldwide in November of 2007 and in some other territories in early 2008. It was a Wii game using Wii controller and nunchuck, but it was actually backwards compatible on the Wii U because the Wii U did also use the Wii nunchuck and controller in addition to the gamepad and every other kind of form factor that you can think of.
Sure did.
It sure did a lot. The disc was backwards compatible on the Wii U, and a digital version of the game was added to the Wii U eShop in late 2015 and early 2016, depending on which territory you were in. It was available for purchase on the Wii U eShop until its closure on May 27th, 2023. This one I didn't know until I did research for this episode. The game was released in 2018 digitally via the NVIDIA Shield TV exclusively in China. It was emulated on the console. This was the first of 6 Wii games that were added to the NVIDIA Shield TV in China. I didn't see what the other 5 were. It ran at 1080p with upscaled visuals. Inputs were modified for the NVIDIA Shield controller, which did not have motion controls. It is no longer available to download as of late 2021.
Yeah, I only know about this because Digital Foundry covered it one time, this NVIDIA Shield stuff. I guess they got their hands on it and covered a bunch of those ports. I was like, that's interesting. I didn't even know. Well, I don't know. Nintendo does all sorts of weird stuff in China, right? So who knows? I'm liable to believe anything, right?
Yeah.
So
I think that they wanted to get the Wii released in China and it just never happened. Hence NVIDIA Shield TV in 2018. 11 years later, you got Super Mario Galaxy in China.
Yep.
Lastly, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, a compilation of the first 3 3D Mario games, was released for the Nintendo Switch on September 18th of 2020. This was worldwide. The collection, which included upscaled versions of Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy, was made to celebrate the 35th anniversary of Super Mario Bros. This version of Mario Galaxy features 1080p resolution and updated controls. In docked mode, the Switch controllers could be used to mimic the Wii controls of the original, while handheld mode uses the Y button for spins and touchscreen for any star pointer specific tasks. This was a limited release both in physical retail as well as on the Nintendo eShop. What? And as of March 31st, 2021, it is no longer available for digital or physical purchase through traditional channels. What? That window is now closed, huh? Why the fuck would you show it to me if I can't have it?
It's so weird that it's like for 6 months only. Same thing with the Mario 35 game that they made, right? Yeah, it's just they did a thing and it's like, okay, guys. Oh, remember they re-released the original Fire Emblem in English for like 6 months too, right?
Yeah,
and then you can't fucking buy that either. And it's like, guys, I don't know. It's weird, right? But that's the way I played it. I have the digital version. But the thing is, you can still find physical copies of 3D All-Stars. They made so many of them. I don't think that's like a problem if you have a Switch, personally.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I can see like online listings for like the high like 80s and then like low hundreds for some of these things. Like if you find it in a store, like a normal store, it's going to be reasonably priced for this kind of thing. But one thing I don't talk about because I would never be able to talk about the game is like distribution. I think you should just be able to go on a company's website and be like, I want that game, and they mail it to you. But there's like a lot of contracts that like businesses make where they cannot just do direct shipping, and they always have to work through some third party, or you have to go to a store of some kind. Not the point.
No, that is a thing. I do wish that could be a thing too.
Yeah, but like you kind of have to depend on like a in-person store having the inventory of it, or like hoping that an online listing gets relatively cheap. But the fact that it was on digital stores and they took it off within the 6-month window was just insane to me. So I'm going to call it an ARG, and possibly worse than the usual ARG that I give, because it was available and they took it off voluntarily. It's Disney Vault bullshit. It is Disney Vault bullshit, and I can't stand for it.
That's exactly what I called it. That's exactly what I called it when they announced this shit. I was like, yeah, it's the Disney Vault, guys. Remember the 90s Disney Vault? This will never be... You can buy Fantasia for 3 months in 1995, and that is it, motherfuckers. It is going back in this vault, this arbitrary vault.
You like Aladdin? How much?
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, as growing up in the 90s and having a lot of those Disney VHSs, right? And those big bubbly clamshell packages that were so appealing at the time, right? Man, they were so smart to do that. They knew exactly what they were doing, because you could just look on the shelf. There are the Disney movies right there. Disney. Man, people always say Nintendo was the Disney of the video game industry, and it's true in a lot of ways, and that is one way where they are just absolutely.
Yeah, they like to stand out so they don't fit in. Just the fact like the Switch case is so thin and red versus like how like the PlayStation and Xbox things follow like a standard size. I know the fact that it doesn't have discs is a part of that, and they want to save on plastic, which is a big motivating factor for that thing. But still, just the fact that like these things are meant to look different.
I feel like they made Wii white so the boxes could be white.
Yeah.
I genuinely feel like that was like the motivating factor.
Yeah, that was like they were doing Apple stuff at that time where they were trying to like do like basically take advantage of the monochromatic colors, and that's why the Wii looks so slick and everything like that.
Yeah.
But the point is, I hate the FOMO model. Fuck you. Why wasn't Super Mario Galaxy 2 on there too?
That's crazy. That is insane that it's not on there.
It's the fact that like you did almost everything you needed to do for Mario Galaxy to do it. What was the thing that was holding that back, other than like we could probably do this later, and then later never came? And now we have Power Stone on the Switch, and we don't have Super Mario Galaxy 2.
It's crazy, man. We can play Capcom versus SNK 2 on the Switch next year and not Mario Galaxy 2. That is insane. I talk about this in terms of Mega Man, where Capcom keeps hiding Mega Man and Bass. And we did a whole episode on Mega Man and Bass like 2 years ago on Fine Time, because that game has such a bad rap nowadays. When it came out, it didn't. It was like the darling import, right? And then over time, whether it's from YouTube or other opinions online, the reputation of this game got sullied. So me and Vin went in there, said why we love the game, and then rebutted against the things people say about it. And it's exacerbated by the fact that Capcom doesn't put it on any of those Mega Man compilations. They never re-release it. The only time it ever has been is that they put the Game Boy Advance version on like Wii U Virtual Console. That's like the only time. And it's just like, that's not even like the best version, obviously, because you want to play the SNES one. And so I feel like Galaxy 2 might get to that point where it's like Nintendo keeps ignoring it to the point where it's like, is this game even good? Or like, like I feel like it's getting this reputation that it doesn't deserve. And it's like Galaxy 2 is damn near as good. It's not like completely as good, but it's so good, It
marginalized itself. Like it was this thing where it's like, oh, no, but not that one. It's like, what do you mean not that one? And it's like, well, I think we can get away with charging $60 for just 3. And it's like, yes, you can, but where is the other one going to be?
Yeah. And that's what we talked about recently on Fine Time about the Capcom collection. They could have charged us $40 for just Capcom versus SNK and 2. They could have charged us $40 for just the 2 Power Stones, and I would have bought it. They're giving us everything. Everything is here.
Yeah.
And it's, and I don't know, man. I don't think it would have hurt Nintendo to put Galaxy 2 on there. It's insane that it's not there, and it's stigmatizing it for no reason.
Yeah, it's weird. Side note here, Mega Man and Bass was the first non-Legends Mega Man game I ever played, and it was the Game Boy Advance version, so I do have a soft spot for that game as well.
No, I like the Game Boy Advance version, by the way. Fuck anyone who has anything to say about it. It's still a good version. It's not as good as SES, but it's still good.
Like I like that game, and you are right that it's weird that like that is now like the weird one that's not on anything.
Yeah, and people think it's like some sort of weird side game and stuff, and it's like, dog, it has 8 stages. You fight Wily, you go to a fortress, and it's a Mega Man game. It's not Mega Man Legends.
Yeah.
It's not Mega Man Battle Network. This is a Mega Man classic game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anyway.
Base has a gun that fires like a machine gun, and it feels very good.
Yeah, you know. But yeah, I feel like Galaxy 2 might be getting to that territory for no reason. And it's like, guys, this game is unbelievable. It should be re-released.
We're complaining about like so many different games not being available on the segment. I love it. Anyway, ARG for Mega Man and Base and Super Mario Galaxy 2 and Super Mario Galaxy 1. You blew it.
Yep.
You blew
Big
it,
time
guys.
ARG.
Yeah, a negative, like an ARG plus, because like, or an ARG minus, I guess I should say, because of the fact that you had it and then you gave it away. Or
How about
no, you
ARG
didn't give
Deluxe?
it away. You hid it from us.
ARG Deluxe. How
ARG
about
Deluxe.
Yeah.
Super Mario ARG Stars. All Stargs. We'll workshop it.
ARG Stargs.
Yeah.
That sounds like a My Gerd joke from 10 years ago.
Oh my god. I saw that Bad Luck Brian is making like a weird post-ironic comeback online.
Really?
Yes.
That's weird. Of all the things, okay.
Yeah. It's like the weird post-irony comeback where it's like the punchline is just poop every single time. Like, hold on. I gotta find an example of it really quickly.
Yeah.
Because like the first one I saw was it's Bad Luck Brian, top text, tries to do away with it entirely. Bottom text, lives as an inversion of it, thus continuing to refer to it indirectly. And then like
it's so weird.
But like the ones I've been seeing mainly are like top text, oh boy, it's snowing. I hope school has a snow day today. Bottom text, school has poop day instead. What the fuck
what even is this? That's like,
I don't know why.
Those are like kid jokes where they tell you like a punchline that doesn't even make sense, and it's so funny because it's so like, where did you even get that from? It's like that.
Yeah, like here's another one. Wins free holiday to an island. It is Poop Island.
I can't believe that's funny. It's so stupid.
The last one I have is about to graduate college. Right when he gets his name called, he suddenly collapses and dies. Good Samaritans try doing CPR on him, but it doesn't work. Gets rushed to the hospital, and everyone tries to figure out what his cause of death was. It turns out he died from an unknown cancer that first developed during his freshman year in college, but nobody gave a shit. Not even his family. Body gets tossed into the river. No funeral. This is all on one text, by the way.
What? Wow. That's insane.
I'm going to send it to you in DMs real quick.
Yeah, please do. That's crazy. That is, I can't believe that's like not only a thing again, but like also clinically insane.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Oh god, like yeah. Anyway, that tangent. Point is, you mentioned that you like to play the Switch version of the game over the Wii version.
Yeah, it's just crisp. Like you said, it's 1080p. It runs like a dream. It has always ran like a dream. Maybe we can talk about that soon, or maybe now.
That's enough.
Okay, yeah, I really like, I love the Switch version just because I like using the 2 Joy-Cons. I like playing that way, Switch games that way anyway, but like obviously it mimics the Wiimote and Nunchuck, so that's obviously a great option. You can play with the Pro Controller as well, that works, but the thing I have always appreciated about Super Mario Galaxy is the fact that it is 60 frames a second, and always has been on Wii, and that is such a big feat. It's unbelievable. It's kind of like I said earlier, when we were talking about 2007, games were becoming less performant because we were trying to stuff all this stuff. What if we could have all this stuff on screen on 360? 360 and PS3 games run like shit. Like, they targeted 30, but they often didn't get there. You know, like, there's a lot of games that just run in the mid-20s, and that's how it was.
Metal Gear Solid 4 targeted 60, and you can tell because, like, it sometimes goes into, like, the 40s, and then, like, it goes back to 20s for the other 98% of the game.
It's like, yo, man, yeah, there's a lot of games that just do not perform well in that era, and that was always bothered me. So games like Bayonetta were like a breath of fresh air, right? Something that's just performant, and Galaxy was a revelation. And I don't know if you know this, but like the original showing of Mario Sunshine at, I think, Space World. Remember Nintendo Space World? In 2001, they showed Galaxy and it was 60. Or Galaxy, they showed Sunshine and it was 60. By the time it came out, it was 30. So I guess they just couldn't make it work on GameCube, but they tried. And that was kind of my wish. One of my wishes for 3D All Stars is that they could restore that, but probably the game logic is tied to it now, so it's just not going to work. But yeah. Galaxy being 60 frames a second is so important, and Mario has never looked back. Every Mario game from this point forward has been 60, and that is so crucial in this game. With the way you're just flippy dipping around like all the planets and running around circles in them and flying through the sky. That presentation matters so much in a way that I know there's some people out there that say they don't see frame rate or they don't care, or like it doesn't matter or whatever. And it absolutely does matter. Frame rate is gameplay. Frame rate is presentation.
Yeah.
And they understood that from the beginning. No, this is going to be a 60 frames a second game. And it looks, you can tell what they cut. There's a lot of low poly stuff in this game. There's a lot of stuff, round edges that are not even close to being round. Like they cut the corners, but it was absolutely worth it. Their artistic vision of this game, I don't think would have worked any other way.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I've learned a lot over the last few years is like the intentionality behind frame rate specifically, because I mentioned like things targeting certain things and the technology not being able to reach it, but it is an intentional thing when you're choosing something to run at either 60 or 30, and sometimes you don't see it because it's effortless. It's this thing that they worked very hard to make it feel natural in the context of this specific game. And the Mario and Super Smash Brothers games and many fighting games definitely do this for, one, the sake of making sure that you are getting the most accurate frame perfect experience when you're playing these games, but also it's part of like the design of the thing. Like we're kind of in like this weird crossroads where we are putting an emphasis on frame rate or performance. Mm-hmm. And it feels like the frame rate sticks out a lot more in those instances because it's like there's almost an indifference about it. Like we understand that this is important, but like we have like this performance-based mode for people who want like high fidelity visuals too. And for me, it's like I like the idea of something having like this intentional design. It's like, did you choose to put up with 30, not put up with, choose to, but like we're at a point where like you can do so much with games. Intentionality would go a long way here in showing the design and not just like the fidelity and like the scope of something.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the way a lot of people think about it. Oh, you PC nerds just want to play everything at 240 frames a second or something. It's like, yeah, there are people like that, but I'm a console guy.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm not a PC player, and I care about this stuff. I always have cared about this stuff. And like I said, it is gameplay. I think that's the thing. Cause like people say they don't see it, but they might complain about stuff like input lag or other stuff that's tied to it. It's like, well, input lag is also frame rate. The sooner a frame comes out, the sooner your button will respond, and so that kind of stuff matters. And in Mario, it absolutely matters. Obviously I'm not with the extremists like, 30 frames a second is unplayable or, like the stupid shit people say. Obviously it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that like, yeah, this was the time. And now they finally had the little bit of more juice in Wii than they did in GameCube. And they intentionally made it this way. And it's like, yeah, think about like Odyssey is the same thing, right? That game runs at a pretty much buttery smooth 60, except for like a couple moments in New Dong City. And that shit is very intentional. And people look at like, it really drives me crazy when people see Switch games and it's like, oh, well, that perform bad. It's like, oh, well, maybe, Switch can't handle it. Dog. Splatoon is right there. Odyssey is right there. Like you can see these games. They can do it if they want to do it. Now, not everybody is Nintendo, but you can do it if you want. Point is, I agree with you. I think the intentionality in Super Mario Galaxy behind it being 60 frames a second is so key. And I like that it's not just a fidelity toggle like we have nowadays. It is intentional gameplay.
Yeah, for sure. Like I just remember the discourse around like Tears of the Kingdom being a 30 frames per second experience. And it's like, they make these choices for a reason. And like, it's not just a simple question of like, should a game have the most frames possible, but like, what are the actions of like the character doing? Like how many frames of animation are actually being put into each movement, and how would additional frames like mess with your perception of these things? This is a game that is like so perfectly tuned to rhythm and timing of something. And the fact that it targets 60 frames per second on top of that is a very important part of it, because it's like very precise in how like you are able to pull off certain movements and the timing in which you're able to do them. They're taking advantage of that. These are the questions we should be asking, like how beyond the visual experience of like game go fast, what is that contributing on like a game feel level?
Yeah. I think you can kind of tell from the way the game defaults. Like we were talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that defaults to 60. It feels so much better to play, especially combat that way. And it's so fast paced and it's so, but some people will want that 4K experience at 30, and that's fine too, you know, but like, the intentionality, I feel like that battle system really benefits from having a high frame rate. So I feel like Galaxy is one of those games that feels intentionally this way, and I'm glad they got there on Wii.
Absolutely. Yeah.
At a time when a lot of 360 and PS3 games were running like booty butt cheeks. Yeah. Like I feel like this is just such a boss move.
Yeah. It looked beautiful on Wii and it looked beautiful on the Switch when it was re-released just 4 years ago. Unfortunately, there's no easy way to get those these days, but which is a shame, because this was a tremendous commercial success. It sold millions, but it's a very widely beloved game. It currently holds a 97 out of 100 on review aggregation website Metacritic, based on 73 critic reviews, making it the 4th highest rated video game of all time on the website, beaten only by GTA 4 at 3, Soul Calibur at 2, and Zelda Ocarina of Time at 1. Mario Galaxy also has a 9.1 out of 10 user score on this website. It was also the highest rated video game of all time on the now defunct review aggregation website Game Rankings, which used a simple mean. So like it uses a more simple like way of averaging out scores with a very consistent rating system.
I remember Game Rankings, yeah.
Yeah. So like according to their like credited data, the Super Mario Galaxy was the most critically acclaimed game of all time.
Game Rankings was like, back in my message board days, that was like the biggest ammo you could have. Well, Game Rankings says 80% or something like that. Like that was our ammo in the 2000s.
Yeah, and now like people's bonuses are being declined because Metacritic didn't reach high enough Metacritic threshold. Jesus Christ.
I know, right? Jesus.
But yeah, beyond like the totally objective measurement of critic scores, it won Game of the Year from multiple video game publications in 2007. Both Eurogamer and IGN would go on to declare it Game of the Generation. An official Nintendo magazine called it the greatest Nintendo game of all time in their final issue, released in October of 2014, RIP. But we're not here to talk about the death of print media, review scores, or sales figures. We're here to talk about the impact this game had on the players who experienced this game. So let's get into it, Dre.
Hey everybody, it's me, Ken. I use she and him pronouns, and I'm here to talk about clowns.
The anime/manga, Kengan Ashura.
I am ready to talk about some Animorphs.
Roma, have you ever heard of the art movement of Dadaism?
Interest in a musician group called Exociety?
It's Yu-Gi-Oh!
The brainworm that I would like to deliver to you today is Gundam and or Gunpla.
I became aware of a series of novels that people told me about called Discworld.
Hey Lewis, what are we talking about? Aragon.
Aragon! Welcome to the Hyperfixation, where we invite our friends onto our show to tell us about what they're excited about so we can acquire an approximate knowledge of many things. New episodes out every Wednesday morning and up to 5 days early for patrons. Normalize info dumping and learn something new with us today thanks to the Moonshot Network.
What is it that you love about Super Mario Galaxy?
I think the thing I love the most is how complete the concept is. Because you could say, okay, Mario in space, and just have like, okay, here's a level on the moon, and here's,
wow, subtweeted Odyssey. Continue.
Yeah, right? Like, and there's obviously moon levels are great. Obviously, I love the one in Odyssey. I love the one in Super Mario Land 2.
And DuckTales.
Well. Yeah, DuckTales, right? It's cool to do that stuff, but like that feels, I don't want to say superficial, but like, okay, you know what struck me? Really? And it's weird, but like, you know how you're on that initial planet, they're kind of teaching you how to control the game, right?
Mm.
You see the dawn of the sun coming up over whatever, I don't know what, in the galaxy, right? It's so bright, too. It's like beaming at you, and it's like, wow, we are really out here. Now that's just like a simple graphical effect, right? That's just a bitmap in the background. But it really hits home, like, you're so far away from the Mushroom Kingdom, you're not even close. The little Starman like patterns, star patterns out there too. Like, it almost looks like a Star Road in space. I don't know if that was supposed to be a reference, but it kind of looked like Star Road, right? That kind of stuff, those details make you feel like, okay, I'm here. And that doesn't cost, like, you don't need a Xbox 360 to depict those little details. And that's what I was trying to say earlier about, like, you know, performance and stuff. It's like you can make something so cool looking and feels so in the world that, like, you're so absorbed in it, and that's what really compels you to just keep playing and playing. And I think that's, if I'm going to take away anything from Mario Galaxy, I think the theming of it is so incredible. And Mario always, you know, is like the god of theming. Here's your fire world, here's your ice, here's your forest, whatever, right?
Yeah.
For them to kind of get away from that a little bit and to just be like, okay, space, but do as much space as you can. What a space fortress, Star Wars planet that's fortified, that's basically a fortified rock. A big garden, right, where you go a bunch across of vines. To have to think differently that way is the thing I think will always be the thing I like the most about Mario Galaxy.
Totally, yeah. If we're going to keep talking about like graphical fidelity and presentation of something, which I'd love to, I think of, you know, underpowered games with beautiful presentation as sort of like the difference between like a very professional production, like a film production with practical imagery and like money behind it versus like a stage play or a theme park, which is very clearly not real, but it is creating an immersive effect. And like one of the biggest influences on game developers, especially people that are doing gameplay forward experiences, are theme parks. You see it in like Square developers and Nintendo developers, especially. They love to go to theme parks because they give their levels. You go, it makes sense that there is like a Super Nintendo Land beyond like the IP of it all in real life. That there's a whole like theme park video game even on the Wii U if you played it. But like these things are like design principles, and they're not creating like realistic experiences, but they're creating like fun, curated, like they're doing tricks. There's a lot of optical illusions on stages to create depth and like a sense of place, even though it's very clearly a fake set, and you can tell I'm in a theater. I'm literally looking at this person, but it is an immersive and compelling thing that I'm beholding. And that's what Nintendo is. They're like taking advantage of presentation.
They're very good at that too. And, you know, they keep going back to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That's what I was watching a streamer play it, and he just started, he got into after the intro, got into the first town, Calm, and he's like, this is Disneyland. This is Disneyland, you know, and he was right. That's what it is, because that's what I always call the Golden Saucer. That's Disneyland. That is literally like the music in the Golden Saucer is, and I talk about this on our Final Fantasy VII Rebirth episode. It's a Main Street electrical parade from Disneyland. And I mean, I grew up in San Diego, so I've been to, you know, we made the drive up to LA to go to Disneyland several times. I saw that thing a million times. Even back in the day, the original Final Fantasy VII, that's what I always interpreted that music as.
Yeah.
The Main Street Electrical Parade. And that's and they bring that shit home in Rebirth. Oh my god, it's incredible. It's more theme park than it ever has been. And so you're right. I feel like Nintendo has that philosophy as well, especially with Mario Galaxy.
Yeah, but like the way that they're able to like, this feels like the biggest Mario game, even though there have been subsequent Mario games, because of the way that they're presenting everything. The stakes feel so enormous just from like that very first moment, not very first, but very early moment we're on that small little planet and it zooms out and the whole universe is just like around you.
Yeah.
And it's to make you feel small, but it's also like this like big, vast, almost statement of like this. We're going to be exploring all of this as like the world. You have to find Peach in all of this. It's not just going across the kingdom. It's going across the universe. You have to go to the center of the universe to save her. So the stakes and the feelings are so big and sweeping.
Yeah, it's so good, man. I almost want to say it's over the top, but not like in a bad way. Usually it's used in a pejorative way, but I don't mean it that way. It's over the top in a way that I think is appropriate and so cool, because at some point they might make you be like, okay, I get it. You're running around the small planet and you can run laps around it. Okay, cool. You've done that already. The game doesn't forget about that though. You do that the whole game. So they commit to it in a way that I appreciate.
It's got this complete commitment to tone that is just really admirable, because you don't roll your eyes at any of this stuff as it's happening, because it's wonderfully presented, and the music is like so 100% committed to the feeling of the thing. The level design is so committed to like, oh, this is different. I'm on spheres now. These aren't platforms. You play Mario 64, it's the most square game of all time. Everything is squares. Everything is rectangles. Everything has corners and things that you're latching onto. Everything being round in this game is so like completely different from your conception of what a Mario Galaxy, what a Mario experience is and what a platform experience is like, that like you just never really get over the feeling of this being a unique experience.
Yeah, it's so good. I really appreciate that within each level, there can be, or each galaxy rather, there can be variants. Like you're shooting yourself to different planets. You're going to the galaxy, this particular galaxy. So you're not just on one place, although that does happen sometimes, and that's cool as well.
Yeah.
But like you shoot yourself to like these, okay, now I'm on this weird little asteroid. Okay, now I'm on this big green one with that looks like a half a castle. Okay, now I'm on this one that looks like a wooden Yoshi carved out of wood. And there's like 20 Goombas on it. It's like, what even is this, right? You get so many from one quote unquote level, you get so many different fresh looks even within that one thing.
It is, yeah. Just like how far they're able to take the moment of every time you pick a level in the game, you go to the observatory, you go to one of the special rooms, you pick a level, you're launched out of the observatory to the level. You see Mario flying towards it, and you see him make the landing onto like the new galaxy, and that immediately creates like a switch from like the hub into like this new, possibly uncharted territory for you. And the fact that there's more than one track in a lot of the levels, like maybe you land in a place and it's just doing like a very quiet, like chilling version of like the underground theme to show like isolation for a moment, and then you like do the task to get off the original platform or planet that you're on to get into the main thing, and then suddenly there's an orchestral sweep happening, or sometimes you're immediately thrown into the action because there's immediate danger around you. There's just so much happening on like this presentational, like visual and audio level to like just prepare you and like give you a sense of urgency or like confusion or trying to get your bearings.
Yeah, the music is a big part of that. And, you know, I should say, I am actually not the biggest fan of orchestral music. I'm like like in general, whether it's movies or games or whatever, that's typically not my thing. Mario Galaxy here is obviously an exception because it's so married to the concept in a way that, like, okay, like, look, I like Marvel movies a lot, right? I couldn't tell you a single note in any of those movies. Those scores are completely forgettable. And I guess maybe in a way they're supposed to be. I know the Avengers theme. I guess everyone knows that, right?
Yeah, that's Silvestri.
Yeah, that's about it. I didn't really catch anything else. And that's whatever, right? I'm not really here for that when it comes to those movies. But if Galaxy were that way, it might be like, okay, fine, whatever. Galaxy's music is it makes you feel involved from the way you said it, and that's the thing I appreciated about it. And also, yeah, maybe those kind of instruments are not my favorite, but like the composition is so strong that I can't help it makes me admire it no matter what.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, like, the music serves like a crucial purpose of juxtaposing itself from the rest of the series and making this game feel even bigger than ever, because everything up to this point is like bleep bloops and MIDI effects. And now suddenly, like, this is Mario's biggest adventure yet, and there's an orchestra to accompany it. There's a bigger conversation to be had about, how orchestra just feels like space historically for the last 100 years. That's just like the sound we associate with space, and we'll get into that. But crucially, it's just like this distinct thing at this point in time where only a handful of video games in Nintendo's catalog at all had done orchestral music, and now this is the first Mario game to use orchestral music. It stands out. And it sounds beautiful, but it also feels bigger.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, it does feel that way. It's the reason why, you hear, I don't know, Star Trek music or something like that. And it's, it's that kind of music and it feels like space or whatever we might like personally draw to that experience. I think Mario Galaxy is tapping into whatever that is. And I think that's why it's like you said, Miyamoto heard the orchestral score. It's like, nah, that's it.
That's space.
Yeah.
And that's not just the music that's part of the sound design, but the actual like effects of everything, which I think like is a very important part of Nintendo's like design philosophy in general, is like getting the sound design right and like their standout games. But playing this game now, like after having started the show, was like such a different experience, as I already love this game, but like I'm seeing why I love it in the simple things of like, oh, when you hover your star pointer, like star bits, and collecting them should just be an annoyance. Like, oh, I have to do a second thing on top of maintaining the life of this little Italian fucker. But like you take the pointer and you point it at the screen to get the star bits, and it gives like a little like effect to confirm that like, okay, you did in fact touch those star bits from far away. And then like a collection sound effect that's not unlike the ring sound effect from Sonic when you're collecting those rings, just like a little like cute little sound effect that makes you feel good for having collected it. It takes something that should be annoying and making it into like a little satisfying experience. And that's what this game is doing basically every step of the way.
Yeah, that's what, that's actually one of my criticisms when last year we did a show on Sonic Superstars, where it's like, they're just the same sound effects. The ring, Sonic getting hit or dying, or it's all the same shit, that we've heard for like 20, 25 years, as opposed to Mario Wonder, which is completely new. Like, okay, yeah, you've heard the mushroom sound effect a million times before, but Nintendo always does those sound effects fresh for every single game. So they don't sound the same. They sound familiar. So like when you turn into B Mario in this game, it sounds like a familiar power-up sound effect. But it's like, that's not the exact same thing you've heard before, and it's unique to that game. And I love that Nintendo pays attention to that stuff. Even just the simple stuff like Mario jumping in Mario Wonder sounds like a extended, like sort of bended note of a guitar almost now this time, It's totally unique from everything else. And Galaxy has that too. All the familiar sound effects are here, but they're also new at the same time.
Yeah, there's a lot of subtlety and a lot of consideration, understanding like we can't recycle everything or even most of this stuff because this is just a fully unique experience. The way that this game looks is so different from the rest of Mario, and we want to make it feel different even when we are riffing on the same stuff. It's not just putting orchestral accompaniments to music from Mario and Mario 3 and Mario World and all that stuff. It's like, it's not just like, oh, we're doing it fresh because like we're starting. It's like it's making it fit into this new thing that they're working on. And there's a lot of subtle like little things that they do, and little, like, what's another one that they do? Like the way that they give you a visual and an audio cue to confirm that your spin dash is ready to be used again, because you can't just spam it over and over again. It was like a little thing that Miyamoto said, like, this game is a little too easy if you can just spam the spin attack all the time. Give it like a delay. And then how do you communicate that delay without just like hoping that you will just intuit over time and just press Y over and over again? I never pressed that button repeatedly because I knew like what happens is you do the spin, and then the Luma comes out of your hat, and then it goes back into your hat. So that's the visual cue. Like when he goes back into your hat, you can use it again. But there's also a like sort of squeak effect that like, it's like, okay, when I hear that, if in case I did not see the Luma from however far away he is, I still know that I can do it because I heard that sound effect.
Yeah, that's very smart. And actually, that's something else I want to talk about too. You were saying in the intro about Koizumi, they added the spin effect, spin attack rather, because jumping on stuff is hard in 3D. Here's the thing. Here's one of the best things about Mario Galaxy, and I did not realize this till this playthrough. It's one of those perfect Nintendo difficulty things where if you spin attack at an enemy, they'll get stunned or they'll get whatever. Like they'll spin around, and then you can like spin attack them again or jump on them real easy to get some star bits. But if you just jump on the enemy, you'll get a coin.
Yeah,
and getting a coin refills your life. So they want you to do the more risky thing. It's like, okay, I need to do something risky here to get my life back. They make you do that. You can't just spin attack everything. And that is so smart in a way that I swear to God, this is like my third or fourth or maybe even fifth playthrough this game. I never thought about that until right now. I talk a lot about Nintendo dynamic difficulty, like you can make the game what you want it to be, whether it's Mario games usually have this, especially Mario Odyssey. You can make the game as easy or as hard as you want it to be. And like other older games have it too, like Yoshi's Story, right? Like you can make that like as easy or hard as you want. You can also do this to a degree in Mario Galaxy, and it is brilliant that they did that. It's something I didn't even notice.
Yeah, no, I definitely like clocked that on this playthrough too, and it's like this one, just like the fact that like, oh, if you kill an enemy in this new way, you get the new currency, which is star bits. But if you do it the traditional way, you get the traditional coin. So there's like a signposting of that, right? But to your point, it's even taken further to the fact that like it is a riskier thing because a jump is not as easy to read in a 3D space as it is in a 2D space. So you are doing a lot more work. Therefore, you would get the more valuable commodity, which is health over at most a 1-up, or like, star bits are used as currency to feed the Lumas to access later parts of a level or to unlock new galaxies entirely. But that, you are absolutely right. It's like a subtle game design principle that is used, like I would say like almost 95% of instances is the case where if you jump on an enemy, they give you coins instead of star bits. It's just like more scripted events where that isn't really the case.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but like for the most part, you're just hopping and bopping around, and it's a game where you don't really hop and bop, right? It's for the most part where you don't, or I guess you don't really have to. But that's also another thing. Each galaxy has like a high score thing, or each star even has like a high score thing. So if you really want to challenge yourself that way and get as many coins as you can and play the game that way, like you can.
Yeah.
So that's also so cool that Nintendo gets it. Like they want to challenge. Maybe I think that's why like maybe Mario Wonder falls a little short for me as far compared to other Mario games, is because they don't really have that. I feel like the game is just a bit easy, and I understand I'm old, I'm a Mario vet, so maybe that's just my experience with it. The game is just a tad on the easy side. It doesn't really push you too much in my experience. So like maybe it doesn't have that dynamicism and difficulty that other Nintendo games are known for.
Like it doesn't have a lot of dynamic, like in the moment choices a player can make and what they can prioritize as much as say this game does. But it does definitely have like gated challenges where it's like, if you so choose and you want a harder experience, because maybe you are or aren't playing multiplayer right now, here is a harder level, and we've starred how the difficulty is, so you have a sense of what you are getting into. But in this game, it's a lot more loosey-goosey with it, and there are like, very specific harder challenges that are like, oh, beat this difficult boss, or like beat this boss with only 1 piece of health instead of the traditional 3 that you can hold. It's just, taking a different approach to difficulty while still also doing the similar thing of like, well, if this is too hard for you, we have like 119 other things you can do right now.
Yeah. I think that's interesting in general, because I don't know when else I'm going to mention this, like I don't want to say scaling down, but just the spreading out maybe of like elements of like from previous games. Because like in 64 and Sunshine, you have 8 health things, right? And now in this one you have 3. But the game is also less threatening, so it works out. It's balanced. But like also, there's a lot more worlds. Like in 64 and Sunshine, you have like, I don't know, 10 to 15 worlds, and you have 7 to 8 or more stars to get in each. Whereas in this, you have so many different galaxies, and you get maybe 3 to 5 or sometimes even 1 star in them.
Yeah, there's 42 levels in this game. There is 15 plus 3 bosses in 64, and I think there's just 8 besides, or like there's 9 or 10 in Sunshine, depending on how you count the boss experiences.
Right, which is where those stupid blue coins come in. But yeah,
the blue coins, and then also like the fact that like you have to, the way that objectives are spread out in Sunshine is so linear in like, okay, you did this challenge, now you can unlock this challenge, and then you can unlock this challenge. Whereas like there is linearity in Mario Galaxy in terms of that, but like you can also find secret stars in an intentional way where you couldn't do those things in Sunshine, for example.
Right, yeah, because I feel like in Sunshine, it's like, well, you better just kind of spam these first 2 levels until you get enough shines to get somewhere else, because there's not that many levels.
It gets very repetitive pacing-wise, yeah.
Yeah, where in this, you can skip entire galaxy. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. It's like, I don't really care about this Ghost House one. Let me go do this Big Bowl Galaxy where you have like a big pond or something. I like that. Where it's like, I don't like swimming levels. I'd rather do this one. And like Mario 64 is also really good about that too. Like if you don't want to do tick-tock clock, then don't do it. Like you don't really have to. You know, and that I feel like Sunshine was missing that. Galaxy, like you said, it is a bit more linear in which the way you like traverse levels, because it is like you're just going from these planets to planets. It's not like this big open thing to explore, but it's also a lot more fun in the fact that like And I hope this isn't too tangential. I was talking earlier about like I don't like the way those games, the like other 3D platformers are built, and I feel like one of the worst criticisms anybody gives about Mario games compared to like, I don't know, let's say like a Banjo-Kazooie, is that they say it's so dumb when you get a star and then you get kicked out of the level or whatever. And it's like that kind of talk makes me want to just bury my heads in my hand and just be like, I don't even know where to begin, because it's such a fundamental misunderstanding of the game design that I just don't even feel like beginning. And I feel like Mario Galaxy, though, really makes good on that, because it's like each star, they set up the galaxy in a certain way where you can only do that thing in a way, right? Like you can't just like, it's not like the other ones where you can get like 100 coins and get a star, or the like here are the 8 red coins and you get a star, right? Like it's totally different. So it's the same thing, but it's also not. So I think it is funny that people do not say that about Mario Galaxy, but they see it fit to say it about the other ones, which I still think is invalid. But I don't know how you feel about that, but I thought that is a criticism that is not criticism. It has always just driven me crazy.
It's a criticism I understand, but it is not one that I necessarily agree with. And it is kind of like a dance that you have to have with emergent versus authored experiences, because the way that you can control Mario in 64, Sunshine, and Odyssey is just completely different in Galaxy, because Galaxy is more level based, and it does absolutely make sense that, getting a star ends that thing, because there was a very specific path when you selected that mission. And then when you come back to that galaxy, you're going to go to different planets and different surfaces and platforms and have a different objective. Maybe you'll fight a boss this time. Who's to say? It absolutely makes sense in a way that like people can like be like, oh yeah, that's why, because I did a level. Whereas in the other ones, especially Sunshine and 64, they're stages. Odyssey, you don't get kicked out. Odyssey, you are in a sandbox and you are getting the shines and whatever they are, and then you keep going because you are exploring a whole level. And there is no central hub the way that there is in 64 and Sunshine.
Exactly.
But the thing with 64 and Sunshine is like the way that you can go about collecting stars is a bit more emergent, because you have this open plane on each of these stages. And the way that Mario controls is a lot more complex. You can do side flips. You can do different types of movement things. And that's why these have become darlings of the speedrunning scene, because of how exploitable Mario as a character is and how he like fights against these worlds. And that relationship isn't there because, one, the way Mario controls in Galaxy is a lot more pared down to account for the fact that this is a Wii game where you only have like a couple of buttons and they're context sensitive depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Mario can't do side flips. He can do one of those like jump forwards, and he can do like a backflip that can give you more height, which has certainly helped me in a few ways, but he's just simply not the movement juggernaut, because the relationship with space, pardon the pun, is just completely different in this game. But like, I understand like that tension of like emergent gameplay that is present in 64 and Sunshine, creating that what they feel is like pace breaking when you're collecting stars, when it's like you did a mission, you completed the mission, you got the dopamine hit of like doing something spectacular, collecting that star, you're good at the game. Just go back in. It's fine.
Yeah, it's right there. Just start. You knew what you were doing anyway. Okay, you were going to the top of the mountain and you got distracted by doing something else and you got another star. Okay, cool. I just never, that is just something that has always driven me crazy, but that's also probably the reason why I pretty much like Mario 3D platformers and not a whole lot else. But that's just the way I think about it, I guess. But yeah, I didn't want to get out of here without having my last bit of Banjo-Kazooie shots fired, I guess.
Right. Like the thing is, like the Galaxy's a more guided experience. It's not as exploitable an experience, I guess I'll say. Which the fact that Mario 64 and Sunshine allow for so much experimentation is promoted within how much freedom of movement they give to Mario. But
Odyssey too, yeah,
and Odyssey, of course. But like again, like we're talking about like getting kicked out of levels.
Oh yeah,
it's like a thing.
Okay,
Odyssey, of course, is the true sequel to Mario 64 in that regard, and Galaxy is just kind of doing its own thing, taking 2D design principles and putting them into 3D spaces with an experimental gravity and sphere structure.
Yeah,
being guided certainly also helps, but this is a game that was deliberately designed to be like, people are struggling with 3D games, and we also want to make a game experience that's very welcoming to new gamers. And having a more fixed camera and giving Mario less freedom of movement at the expense of also creating more authored presentation moments that will be like memorable for a lot of reasons. That's the trade-off they made.
Yeah, for sure. I do agree with that, and I do think that like I do like that Mario Galaxy doesn't totally forget about those design principles though, because there are levels that do feel like Mario 64, like the what is it called, Freeze Flame Galaxy, where it just feels like a Mario 64 ice level because you're on this one planet and you're doing this one thing and getting to the top and fighting like this little boss, and then you get like a star. That's completely Mario 64. You know, and I like that they didn't totally forget about that. There is still room for that.
Yeah, like there's that level, the first level you find with the penguins that are like, you have like basically it's like a giant bowl, and there's the beach part and there's the underwater part. That feels like a Mario 64 level. There's still like definitely like bigger 3D space. The first B level, one of the earliest levels of the game, that's a very Mario 64 level, but it is using those design principles to like make it a more streamlined experience.
Can I shout out to B Mario, by the way? B Mario is just, I remember it was one of the more shocking photos I had ever seen online for when you go to IGN and see hey, we got 10 new screenshots of this game, when that was like an exciting thing. And like, man, when I first saw B Mario, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And I lost my mind. I was like, this is the new power up. This is so stupid. I love it. Like B Mario. And this, I mean, he's a bee. You do bee things.
You do B Mario,
you float in the air and you buzz. It's B Mario, all right. I just can't believe it's great.
I love the fact that like water just completely deactivates the power up. Like
that is
on
funny.
A level that makes sense, but it is also like, all right, okay.
Yeah, it was weird. I didn't really know why that happened. I guess bees don't like water, I guess. But
who
it's
does?
Just like, it's not like Cat Mario had no problem with water. I guess I don't know. I feel like
fair enough.
Yeah.
They don't allow you to have bees in here.
There was just like a guy who like really liked bees. It's the vibe. But when they get wet, they have a hard time.
Yeah, I like that. I love that probably someone at Nintendo was like, I like bees. They just put that on the board, almost like the same way. Like one of the level designers for Odyssey was like, well, what was your inspiration for Toast Arena? I went on vacation to Mexico for a month, and I came back, and it's like, yeah, we're doing this in a Mario game. It's like, okay. That's it. That's
the brainworms we have when I go to a metal show and think they should be playing the Final Fantasy VII boss music, but they actually do make video games. So like,
yeah, so it's like they can do that. It's like, Mexico is great. How about we just do that in a game? Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I bet someone was just like, yeah, B Mario, sure. That's stupid. Let's put it on the ideas.
Yeah. Another thing I really like about this game, I just want to address really quickly. I like the bit that happens, especially early on in the game, where signs will talk to you whether you read them or not.
Yeah, yeah, that is funny.
Yeah, like it's just like a bit that like kept happening. I didn't notice it the first time I played, but I definitely noticed on this playthrough, like every time a new game design concept was being introduced to you in like the early-ish, like first two, I'll say observatory rooms, I guess. Occasionally, like a sign will be like, "Hey, you didn't read me, but guess what? You are now." Like they had like a few of them have names, and they're like, "I'm Ted, the sign, and this is what I have to say."
It's really I like when they come up with like cute little honestly, like that was I thought the talking flower thing would annoy me in Mario Wonder, but no, it was great. It was perfect. I thought they played that perfectly. That has the propensity to be annoying. Right, and it's not, and like the talking signs here in the Galaxy could be annoying, but it's
I had a lot better time with the talking flowers when I turned the voice acting off. Honestly,
really,
like,
okay,
just because like there's something weird about hearing a Californian accent in a Mario game, where it's like a valley accent. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like
it is
normal American. It's whoa, I'm getting dizzy.
Like I said, I'm from Southern California, so I know that accent for sure. But
yeah, but like it just felt jarring to hear. So like I actually thought that they were funnier just reading them as text, because that fits with like the vibe of Mario a lot more, which I know people have been saying since Sunshine, but still.
Yeah, no, it's great. I will always defend Sunshine's talking Bowser and stuff like that, though. I thought that was great. I was actually kind of at the time when Galaxy came out, I was like, oh, Bowser doesn't talk now. He talked before. I remember thinking that at the time, but oh well.
I think that there's like a happy medium you can have with it where like I can accept that Bowser's doing grunts that I can read subtitles for, but it did feel a little weird like seeing like Peach and Rosalina have like one voice acted word like Mario, and then like you read the rest of like the 3 more lines, no voices at all, just lips moving. It's like that's a little weird.
Yeah, they kind of do. That's part of the problem with Princess Peach Showtime, because like the presentation doesn't hit because they don't really have voice acting like that. They do that, but it's like if you're gonna be like a stage play, you gotta have voices. I'm sorry, you gotta do it. Yeah, and that game doesn't do it. Yeah, man. But I think Mario Galaxy plays it perfect in that regard. Can we? I don't want to get you off itinerary here. I'm itching to talk about Rosalina.
Let's talk about Rosalina. Yeah,
yeah, because. Unexpectedly one of the best Nintendo characters ever, in my opinion, and I think everyone knows this thing. This game has a thing where you can go into a bedroom and Rosalina will read you chapters of the saddest story of all time. Bro.
Yeah, like really. Before we talk about the details of this story, like because like you unlock chapters of it as you play through the game. If you go in before, like you have the whole story. There's like this vibe of like reading the saddest thing you ever heard, and then she closes the book and it's like, all right, time for bed, or like because she's reading it as a bedtime story to the Lumas, and it's like that one Akewood comic where like Libot is like telling a bedtime story about a tragedy to the kid, and then he's just like, the end, no moral, and then turns off the lights.
Bye. It's man. It's very I went in there when I think I had 4 chapters in this run when I first went in there, and it was just like. Dog, it is just devastatingly sad. It's so, you know what though? It's so good. It's perfect for this game. It's exactly what this game should have. I recently was on Flashback 64 and I talked about Mario 2. And I said the ending of that game was like the first thing as a kid that made me sad. It was a dream. It was just a dream. It wasn't real. It wasn't the fact that it wasn't real. It was the fact that Mario couldn't go back there. It was just over. And I think as a kid that struck me as being like, oh my God, like I just never had that thought before. And I think, like I said, I played this game when I was 25 when Galaxy came out, and it still hit me with that like, holy shit.
Yeah, like I was bracing myself because like I played the game before. I had these experiences, and it's like, did that hit hard because I was like 12, or was this actually profoundly impactful? And then it hit harder, if anything, because I have like experiences with loss and understanding that you can't go back to what has already been, because the whole thing with like Rosalina in that story is that she meets a Luma on Earth. And they wait together for the Luma's mom to come back, and the mom never comes. So like she's like, well, let's just take the spaceship that landed here and go out into space and find your mama. And then she leaves Earth and goes on this journey with the Luma, and like everything about like space is just written as this like isolating and lonely thing. And it says like they traveled for days and days and saw nothing for days and days, and she got hungry and they got sad. And then like there's this little found family thing because the Luma's she's like, you never found your mama, Luma, but you can call me mama, and like because we're a family now. And then like all the Lumas start calling her mama, and she has a breakdown because she realizes she misses her mama. And it's like, that's sad. And then like it's like, oh, but it's not sad enough, buddy, because she misses her mama because her mama has already died, and you were running away from that. And then like looking back on it, it makes you sad, and you miss your mom and you can't go back. The consolation of that story isn't like some magical happy ending so much. It's just like the Lumas reassuring her that like your mama lives on within you, and you're carrying that forward, which is like the theme of the whole game as we get to the ending and talk about the ending a little bit. But that's a profound thing for a Mario game where like every time you jump, you go, whee!
Yeah, man. With. It's just Yahoo. The Yahoo jump man is just, this is in this game. And, famously, like Miyamoto never cares about story in his games. He's all just a gameplay guy, and it's just like, so I know this is a Koizumi thing. He had to admit that, considering how Odyssey turned out as well, there's no doubt this was his baby in that regard.
Yeah. There's a story about this. People mischaracterize it, because this is an optional thing. This is the storybook stuff is siloed off into the library, because Koizumi had written it separate from the rest of the game and presented it to Miyamoto as development had gone along as like a, hey, I put this in the game, and isn't it neat because it's like a story beat that makes us feel for Rosalina beyond the fact that she is like helping us along the journey. And then Miyamoto was like, yeah, that could stay. But like people say like, oh, he snuck it past Miyamoto. And it's not that he snuck it past Miyamoto because like it makes it sound like he was being like, no story allowed.
Right.
It's just like, I knew how he would feel about this. So I waited until it was done so I could show it to him so he could appreciate it more.
Yeah.
They have like it's a mentor-mentee relationship. It's a closeness, and it's like understanding a person enough to know like how they would bristle at something. But if you show it to them as like a complete thought instead of like an abstract idea, they would, respect it more.
Yeah, and that is good because it's like you said, Miyamoto does get mischaracterized that way, but it's just not the way his brain works, right? And not everyone does. And sometimes I don't either. Like if someone were to just tell me that like abstractly, I haven't played the game yet, I'm like, who fucking cares, right? And then you see it and it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just devastating and great, and it makes Rosalina, it just makes the ending that much. It amplifies the ending a million times. Yeah. I guess.
I'll talk about the ending in a second, but I did want to call out the fact that you mentioned specifically Super Mario Brothers 2 making you feel like this sense of like, oh, he can't go back there because it was a dream. Yoshiaki Koizumi's like, one of the first things he did at Nintendo was write the script for The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, which is a story about a dream that you wake up from and you can't go back to.
Yeah.
That's the guy who put in like those notes of melancholy into what was supposed to be just a Game Boy Zelda experience. And like he talked about it, saying like, I was told to write the manual for the game, and what that ended up being was me writing the story because there wasn't really a push to tell a narrative in this thing. So I was able to get a lot of wiggle room and being like, well, let me just like make these places and things into fleshed out characters to make this ending make people feel something. And it's just like seeing that. Then he does something like that in Mario Galaxy. He's like, this fucking maniac is so sad.
Yeah.
He's so good at making me sad. Because he's also, the co-director of my favorite game, Majora's Mask, which is just sprinkled with tragedy and sadness and melancholy. And it's like, this guy's really wants kids and people just playing simple Nintendo games to get more than just pleasure from gameplay.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I felt that emotion at the end of Odyssey too, and that's not like that doesn't have like the emotional element to it. It's much more like, I don't want to say silly, but much more happy-go-lucky game than all of what we've been talking about here, and it doesn't have that kind of like hit you in the gut ending, but it still made me feel that way just because of the ascension of everything. And I don't want to. I mean, I don't know if the spoilers for Odyssey is like a thing, but I won't say. But you've played the game. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The way the entire thing ends up. It's just like, wow, dude. Like, you really get it.
Yeah, it's a heck of a thing. But talking about the ending, the way that, like, the storybook stuff ties into the ending is, like, you get minimum 60 stars. You are asked like, are you ready to go to the center of the universe to save your princess now? And you do that. You go to the castle. Bowser has this whole, galaxy. You fight him in the center of a hollow sun. He falls into the lava. You get the grand star from him, and he's like, oh fuck, oh no, my galaxy is falling apart. And it turns into a black hole over the Mushroom Kingdom, and it starts sucking all the airships and people into it. And the Lumas in the observatory are shooting themselves deliberately into the black hole, including the Luma that's been with you the entire game. And it gives like a look back at Mario, a sort of like reassuring goodbye before he throws himself into a black hole that you too get sucked into. And then Rosalina appears and says like, it is the nature of things for them to go away, but the comfort that we can have. Hold on, I think that I'm trying to find like the specific words.
Yeah. It was very careful wording. Yeah.
Mario appears in front of Rosalina, who saves him from the cataclysm and tells him that this isn't the end of the universe, but a new beginning for it. This idea is like nothing is the Lumas get turned into stardust, which is used to create new things. Because the whole thing about the Lumas is that they all grow and mature from baby stars into new galaxies or comets or something, that they're all trying to grow up into something new, and that these Lumas are basically going to be used to make a new universe. So the implication of the ending is kind of that, oh yeah, that black hole worked. But the good news is everything's back because the stars never go away. Matter is neither created nor destroyed. It is simply repurposed. And this is a new world that you're living in because it's a new world every day.
That is just, for a Mario game, get the fuck out of here, man. Like,
that's a Majora's Mask ass ending.
Yeah, it's so, that's just it. I'll never forget how I felt when I first beat that game. I still just thinking about it right now. I'm just almost kind of speechless. It's just so effective at what it does, and you do not ever expect something like that from a Mario game to hit you like that, and it does. It absolutely does.
Yeah, Mario, who doesn't normally talk, like at the end of this game, like will like realizes what happens, and instead of like has a freak out, he just like, you know, yells up into the air, welcome new galaxy, which is a very like, you know, very Mario way of being like, the universe is back and it's not the old one, it's a new one sort of thing.
Yeah, and I thought that was, it feels kind of goofy in that Mario way, right? It's kind of funny and weird, and it's perfect too. I love that they made, I want to know what take Charles Martinet was on when he nailed that.
Yeah.
Welcome New Galaxy. Oh, I like that in the game too. Like when you get on any play, it says welcome to the galaxy.
Yeah.
When you start the stage, I think that's great. I know it's just a little bit of text, but I don't know. I think stuff like that is Nintendo is so good at those little details.
Yeah.
You know, it's good, man.
It's little flourishes that add to a whole. Like it's very thought. That's like the thing that makes these video games art. It's not that like it's a fun game. It is super fun. Like we're talking about like, oh, like all these flourishes and all these design and story principles. It is a fun ass game. Every time you like get into like one of those big star launchers and you either shake the remote or you press the Y button on the Switch and you get a vibration and the sound effect plays in your launch, that's just pure tactile fun, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. It's top notch at all that stuff. And you know, honestly, you're talking about how Mario's moveset is a bit reduced in Galaxy for gameplay reasons, and I honestly, I never like personally thought about it because the game was so good at what it was doing that I didn't miss any of that other stuff, like a side flip or like a whatever.
Yeah.
Personally, I didn't.
There's no practical reason to need to do any of it, so it's not super missed. So like while I understand people preferring that style, it isn't anything that would add anything to the experience. My partner I was playing this around them, and I offered to let them play because it's a Mario game. Everybody loves Mario. And I had the initial thought of like, this is a game that deals with a lot of gravity and weird surfaces. So, you know, this might not be the best jumping point for a 3D Mario experience because you haven't played these before, but, you know, I'm sorry if it's challenging. And for the most part, she intuited it very well because they actually designed this specific game with the feedback that the earlier 3D Mario games were difficult for people not used to 3D spaces. And since this is a game where the camera mostly does a good job following you, it's not perfect. It is absolutely not perfect, but it does a better job at being where it's supposed to be for where you are in that moment. And since like the surfaces are more like this is a level and not like a whole stage that you have to find your way around, that was actually a lot easier for her than I think navigating the early levels of Mario Odyssey would have been if I had to compare the two experiences.
For sure. And I think that makes it easier for a lot of people. And I would actually like to talk about camera for a second because no, it is not perfect because, you know, no 3D platformer camera is. However, I think it is super great. And this is one of my hottest takes maybe about video games in general. More games should take away camera control from the player. I genuinely believe that. Because like the way this game is, and look, this is a specific instance. It's a platformer. They want you to, for the most part, you can't fuck with the camera in this. Sometimes you can, but like for the most part, you cannot. And you're seeing what they want you to see.
Exactly.
And you're gonna jump the way they need you to. You need to see it this way because you need to be able to jump and move this way, right, around this planet. Those planets. If you could just control the camera of those planets, it would just be kind of a mess. It'd be like you'd make yourself more confused. By just sticking with the one thing, they're forcing you to be like, okay, I'm going to see it from this perspective and navigate it from this perspective. And Mario Galaxy is perfect at that. I really do think there's other games out there, platformers or otherwise, where it's like, if we just couldn't actually mess with the camera, I think this would be better.
So I kind of agree, because this goes back to our earlier conversation about emergent versus like authored experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the most annoying thing in the world to me is when a game like does that UI press R2 so you can focus on what you're supposed to be seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, so you just like had this intrusive prompt here where if this is like, you could have just like sort of forced the camera to do that and like have like this moment where I'm supposed to see the shot that you have laid out for me, the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying every game that does that is dog shit. I'm just saying that like you could have just done it, and it's fine to take some axis of control away from me if you're trying to do that. So I do I do agree, because I love playing like a PlayStation game, like with the early Resident Evils or the PlayStation era Final Fantasy games, where they have like these like very specific ways these screens are laid out. So like you can be in awe of the scope of a moment, or see how they want you to see these things. And as much as I love Rebirth, I do wish there were more like authored moments where like the camera was fixed so you could like be in awe the same way that you were in all of these things back on the PlayStation era.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, so I agree.
Yeah, I do. I love the tank controls era. I love the fixed camera, pre-rendered backgrounds era. I love all that stuff. So yeah, that's kind of maybe where I'm coming from a bit, but it's just like, yeah, I really do think, yeah, you're right. In Rebirth, if they just had like, especially in dungeons, I think, if you were like that in that crystal cave or whatever it's called, if you were just, the camera was just what it was, and that's it, I think that would have been perfectly fine. I'm not saying take the camera controls away from every game. Mario Odyssey should only have a fix. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, like, yeah, there's games where it's like, hey, sometimes just show me what you want me to see, and that's fine.
There's a degree of control that you can give to the player where like the experience can be diminished in some way. And this is a game that is a testament to taking control away from the player a little bit can go a long way in giving a better experience for overall. Because while this Mario cannot be controlled as much, it leads to a smoother experience for these guided moments. And like having less control over the camera leaves less guesswork in terms of getting your bearings. Because like they're designing the game around that. They're not just like taking control away from the player with the same like design principles as the other 3D Mario games. No, they're building the game around these limitations in a brilliant way. So I'm not saying like wholesale we need less control in video games, but I'm saying like if you like make it harder for the eye to wander in a horror game, you can see the you can build a sense of dread and like keep people from looking away in a way that they can in like certain 3D horror games, which is why I think like the scariest Resident Evil ones are the fixed camera ones and the first person ones.
Yeah.
Whereas like the ones that are like the Resident Evil 4 style have to go more actiony because they know that like your degree of control is inherently empowering in a way that those two games are not as empowering.
Yeah. And I'm not a fan of Resident Evil past the tank controls era, really, very much. So, like, especially 4 just really was just not what I wanted at the time, or I guess now. Maybe that's one of those games I need to just revisit, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure I'd still feel the same way, because that's just not my kind of game, no matter what, Resident Evil or otherwise.
I'm going to make sure I'm differentiating myself from you in this, because I fundamentally disagree, and I'm pretty sure you played Resident Evil 2 Remake and agreed that was a good game.
Oh, Resident Evil 2 Remake is great. I did like that. Resident Evil 3 Remake?
I won't. I'm not gonna back that one. The most 6 out of 10 game of all time.
Yeah, not so much. It may be a good Resident Evil game if you like that kind of action stuff. It's a terrible Resident Evil 3 remake. That's what I could say about it.
Mm-hmm. But continue with your point.
No, that's kind of it, man. I will follow the developer, the vision down the road as far as they want me to, because that's what I'm here for. I'm not here for like, I think, maybe that's it nowadays. I think people are used to being like more customizable experiences nowadays, whether it's a created character or whatever. You can have the fidelity or the performance mode. You can have the whatever. I think people are just used to choice. So if they feel like they don't have the choice of changing the camera, I feel like they feel like something is being taken away from them, even though it's really not.
Mods.
So, yeah, maybe that's part of it nowadays why we don't do that. But honestly, I feel like we probably should.
Yeah, I mean, like, the limitation versus intentionality thing, right? Like, so I'm going to use movies for a second. Black and white was a limitation for a while, but like we worked around it by like having lighting done in a certain way and sets made in a certain way to accommodate the fact that we knew that this was going to be monochromatic. And then color came out, and then that created a lot of new advantages. And then there were also new limitations that they had to adjust to because they were so used to doing things in black and white, and there were growing pains for that. And then by the time we did figure it out, enter Alfred Hitchcock, who had done both like full-on like VistaVision Technicolor like marbles and had done black and white projects because his career was so prolific at this point. He says like, okay, I'm going to make this movie Psycho, and they're not giving me a lot of money to make Psycho, and it's pretty standard in Hollywood now to make color movies, but like I'm going to be working with a lower budget anyway, and so using black and white cameras would save me a lot of money. So I'm choosing to do this, but it is also like lending to the atmosphere of this film. And there are people who intentionally make black and white movies by choice to this very day. I talked about the Brian Eno, like the second something becomes obsolete is when we become nostalgic for it and don't want to go back to it in some way. Like maybe my most quoted thing on this podcast at this point, but
it's true though.
Yeah. But like, it's this thing where it's like, it can feel like control being taken away from you in an interactive medium. But I do think that like, so people are resistant to it because it feels old to not feel as in control.
Yeah.
Not understanding like, yes, we have grown past it, but there's still utility for it. And there are still like intentional ways we can deploy that.
Yeah. It's kind of like old genres, like 3D platformers. We don't really make them anymore, right? Or like shmups, like we talked about earlier. You can still do new things in those genres, and people will still, especially indie developers and stuff, will make stuff like that. But it's like, it's not like the mode anymore, but you can still do something. You can still reach back and you can take stuff from it because it's still valid, even though you may feel like we've done all we can with that. No, there's always something to do, right?
For sure. Yeah. We've talked this game's praises up and down. Is there anything you wish the game did better?
This is an extremely hard game to criticize.
I do agree.
You know what? One thing I wanted more of? I wanted more spectacle when you when you get into the star thing and you fly around. Sometimes they put up a little star bits you can collect while you're flying to the next thing. I wish there was Battle Rock Galaxy, right? The big fortress that's like a big rock and it's shooting cannons and stuff. When you're doing stuff in that and you fly to the next thing, sometimes they catch a camera angle where the thing goes like boom and there's like explosions behind you because you just fucked that thing up or whatever, right? Like I love the cinematic shit like that. And maybe it's like the Sonic adventure lover in me or something that wants like spectacle in that regard. But I wish there are touches like that in Mario Galaxy. I wish there was more.
You were hitting a point where I was afraid to say it on podcast, but this is the most Sonic video game of all time. This is the most Sonic Mario game ever because it's like, and it got me thinking about like how like Sonic Adventure has like these like, big melodramatic things, and this game is taking the going into space thing and taking it from a different approach, but you can't help but feel like when Mario is like flying away from an explosion and this ridiculous looking cartoon character just did something epic, you can't help but think of Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, you have to, man. That's the vibes it gave me. And I love the Sonic Adventures. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Not dissonant.
Yeah, but that's like they kind of left some on the table. They could have had some more spectacle, I guess. Like you said, the camera isn't always perfect, but 95% of the time for me, it's perfectly fine. I never felt like I died to it or something. It's like, I couldn't see that thing or something. Yeah, dude, I swear to God, I don't even really, that's it. I don't think I really have anything bad to say.
Yeah, all right. So I have a couple of like, and this is like nitpicking within nitpicking probably. I asked you earlier if we need lives in Mario games anymore. And this game made me reckon with that a little bit because of the way where it's like, if you play during a session, you can accumulate a lot of 1-ups. But as soon as you quit out of the game, and Mario 64 does this too, and reload it, you're back to like the minimum number of lives that they give you, which I think is like 4 in this game.
Yeah.
So it's like all those 1-ups you accumulated are gone. Like you might get a little letter from the Princess Peach and she'll give you like 5. And it's not a hard game where you're going to be like wanting for 1-ups, but it is just this kind of thing where it's like, well, it kind of sucks that I don't have that anymore. Like I beat the game with like 60, because I would like, instead of like quitting the game entirely, I would just like suspend it and put it in rest mode, come back to it. And I beat the game with around like 60 lives. But as soon as the credits ended and it like goes back to the start screen, I load it up as, God fucking damn it, 4 lives again.
Yeah.
This is the same play session.
That is weird, yeah. I think the lives in this game obviously serve a purpose for basically checkpoints in the game, because obviously if you run out of lives, you could just try the galaxy again and try the star again. But it's just like if they checkpoint you and you run out of lives, then okay, you have to do it over. That's really what the lives serve, and that is a purpose. That is important, in my opinion. So I don't like when people say they're not useful, because they serve a purpose. Maybe another criticism, and I don't even know if this is a criticism, is that like most of the enemies and stuff are like fairly non-threatening and easy, including most bosses. But I feel like that's not really a criticism, because the difficulty of Mario Galaxy is the platforming. It's the most purely platforming like Mario, I think, that we have. And it's not really about like, oh, these Goombas are shooting fireballs at you, or these, like it feels like a lot of things in Mario 64 are very threatening. Whereas like in this game, it's like, they're not just there. I mean, but they're not super threatening.
It's better to treat them as obstacles than like enemies. There's like certain situations where you absolutely do have to destroy them. But if I wasn't locked behind progression, I would either like jump over them or get around them or move on, unless I was hurting for star bits, which I wasn't by a certain point in the game. So I would just like move past it, because it's like, I can keep going.
Yeah.
you might follow me for a little bit, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just treated everything like the bullet bill following you, where it's like, eventually I'll shake you. I'll just shake you eventually.
Eventually. Yeah, I mean, obviously there is like small things where you do have to, okay, you got to beat these guys to get this thing to appear to whatever. And like every Mario game does that, and that's cool, and that's fine. But for the most part, they're just kind of, they don't really strike the fear of God into you. So it's just kind of like, okay. But again, I don't know how much of a criticism that is, because I don't really think that's like the difficulty of the game.
Yeah. Like I can see somebody complaining like they only introduced a couple of like new types of designs in this game. Like the bee people and the mechanic gear people are like new. The Lumas are new. I don't think they really introduced any like brand spanking new enemy types, because the bats and the spiders are in the new Super Mario Brothers games, I think. And the boos and the Koopas are all there. And I can see, or like they have like little bugs on some of the bee planets, I guess, and little crab creatures.
Yeah.
But like
Mario 64 had bats as well.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But like I like this because I love how even in like the most like epic feeling story kind of game Mario ever has, it's so lore averse that it doesn't give a fuck if all of the planets just have boos and Goombas and Koopas on them. Like they come from space, I fucking guess. Who cares? This is Mario.
Whatever.
This is all set dressing to justify the spheres. Like this, do you like the spheres, guys?
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Oh, they had this the Ghost House Galaxy. That was fun too, where you rescue Luigi.
Yeah.
And then that becomes a whole yeah, that's a whole like, man, they just, why is a ghost house in space? Who gives a fuck? Let's just, it's really cool stuff, man. All the imagination is on display, probably because like might be my favorite level of Mario 64 is the ghost house. And I was thinking to myself, like, because, I'm growing up loving Super Mario World. It's like, oh, man, is the new one going to have a ghost house? I don't know. It's all new in 3D. It had a ghost house, and it made me overjoyed.
Yeah. My other two, like, criticism notes here are me writing down the coins thing. I guess it's cool that the high score is an option, but it doesn't really meaningfully add to the experience for me. So it just feels like coins are functionally useless beyond needing them for health. So it's weird that there's just like a bunch of little bonuses that they give you where it's like, here's 10 coins. And I'm like, thanks, I guess.
Yeah, this is probably the most devalued coins have been since like maybe Mario 3. Mario 3 isn't very coin-ish, So maybe it's kind of takes after that a little bit. I wish, there's plenty of this in the game, and maybe this is just a me thing. I wish there was just like a couple more of like the planets where you do like, okay, you're going to run on all these disappearing platforms and get all the things and the star will appear. I wish there was like a couple more of those, because I think those are really fun. But then again, I don't know how strong of a criticism that is, but
I was surprised on this playthrough like how little like the new power-ups come up, because there's only a handful of levels with the bee. There's like a couple with the spring. The red star power-up doesn't actually matter.
No.
Like that was the thing that sold me on the Wii as a concept. It only you can only use it in the hub world and like the place you unlock it where you get the 100 purple coins the first time.
Yeah.
That is it. It doesn't matter. Like it's cool, but like I think this is maybe the weakest hub of the 3D Mario games, in spite of me loving the game so much, because there are no like secrets to discover, and really it's just the red star, which feels neat, but since the camera is like by design limited, you can't really like feel the full impact of it.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I never really thought about that before, but I agree. And honestly, yeah, I have my issues with Sunshine, but you cannot beat Delfino Plaza, in my opinion. Jesus
It oozes
Christ.
atmosphere.
Yeah, it's just, dude, I first played Sunshine when it came out in like late August 2002, September 2002. I was visiting a friend in Vegas. It was 118 degrees every day. That game, Mario Sunshine, literally felt like an oasis. Like it did its literal job. Like that music and that cooling. I guess I will always associate it with that game. But yeah, no, you can't beat Delfino Plaza. And I like the observatory. Don't get me wrong; it's cool.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
fine,
the little sound effects when you do the little warps. Like I love all that stuff, but it's not Delfino Plaza.
Yeah, I say weakest, not worst, because like it is. It's not a bad. I like the design of the observatory. The effects are cool. The music by Koji Kondo is incredible. It does everything it needs to do. I just, had this expectation with like all the secrets in Delfino Plaza and Princess Peach's castle that maybe there'd be something more here, and it's just like, I can kind of see why they just did like the level system of Mario Galaxy 2 instead, to sort of like wash their hands of like having to deal with a hub at all, because they kind of realized it was kind of perfunctory.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so this is the thing. I love Mario Galaxy 2. Koizumi does not direct Galaxy 2. It is the level designer of this game who is the director of Galaxy 2, which speaks to the most meaningful difference between the two, which is that Galaxy 1 has like a story to make it feel epic. And this like hub is meant to sort of like color in the world and Rosalina as a character. And 2 is like, okay, we did that already, so I can just keep making more levels, right? Cool. I'm gonna do that. Awesome.
Yeah.
Peace.
yeah. And like I said, it's pretty much just as I think it is anyway. I think Galaxy 2 is a phenomenal game.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have the put together of the first one, But on a pure gameplay level, yeah, Jesus Christ.
Like, I'm just a sucker for hub worlds in any context, even if it's to the detriment of the game sometimes. Like, I just I liked it when the NFL and NBA games had it, even though it was like, this could have been a menu.
I like hubs too. I like Street Fighter 6. I love the battle hub. It's so good to make your stupid create a character.
Love that shit so much.
So fun.
The Street Fighter 6 is the most Dreamcast-ass game that's ever been released on the PlayStation 5. I love it.
Yeah, I love Street Fighter 6, man. Best fighter I played in years, man. I love it. And the way it's all come together, like I said, Battle Hub, World Tour, all the stuff. Good stuff.
It's great. It's just it feels so good. I can't believe that a game like that was made in 2023, because it feels so retro, and how like, yeah, fuck it, let's put that in there. That makes it feel bigger, right? And I'm like, yes, it does. I feel like an 8-year-old again.
Yeah, like I said, the right people are in charge at Capcom right now, because they get it. So
yeah, I had to check this to make sure. The number 4th most critically acclaimed game of all time on Metacritic is Mario Galaxy. The number 5th one is Mario Galaxy 2.
I mean, geez, what else can you say, right?
97 Metascore versus 97 Metascore.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not surprised Galaxy is up there like that, because like it does everything. Our criticisms are so nitpicky that it's like, it's so hard to even say. I can say more. Mario 3 is my favorite game of all time. I can say worse things about that game than I could Mario Galaxy.
We did.
Yeah, we did. So
yeah. But like, what is this? Like, I don't like the ball level very much, I guess. I don't have to do it though, so it's not the worst thing in the world. And I see what you were trying to do, so I can't complain too much. I won't even complain about the weird manta ray one. Like, I understand what you're trying to do.
That was weird, but it wasn't terrible, I guess. It was
My partner did that level this time around. I didn't make her, but like, she was basically insisting on doing it because she kept dying. It was like, no, it's like a puzzle. I have to beat it. And like, God bless her, she did an amazing job. I found out through her that you don't have to get the hour the minute and 30-second time limit to get the star. I thought that you just had to get the best time to beat the star, but if you just beat the level, you still get the star anyway.
Okay. So it's just for bragging rights, I guess.
Like this isn't a diss her ability to play the game, by the way.
Right.
I struggled with this too.
No, it's tough.
Yeah.
I think it's tough. That I feel like that's one thing that I didn't struggle with on Wii that I did more on Switch. Maybe because I was just using. It's just not the same. I don't know. I feel like when I did that on Wii, I didn't feel that squirrely. I don't know. Maybe my experience is just that.
Yeah, my partner got the full Super Mario Galaxy experience, even though she only played about a quarter of the game with me, because we did that level and we also did the blowing up trash level.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, the trick to the blowing up trash level is like chain explosions or landing them as close to like the coin markers as possible to get like the maximum amount of thing. But like we were in there, we were absolutely in there with the trash level again.
Yeah, I love that thing. God, just so many weird inventive things. I love the Toy Time Galaxy.
Everything's great.
Oh my god, I love what's the one that's like a big dreadnought Galaxy? There's just so many. I mean, I wrote down a bunch of them, but it's just like I could go on forever. Like it's just there's not a bad one. I honestly can't even think of one where it's like, that was okay. All of them are great. Every single one.
Yeah, like the endgame galaxies especially are like where like the real like heavy hitters are. Deep Dark Galaxy is really cool. Yeah, just a solid game through and through. I love that the last like observatory, like after the engine room, is just a quiet garden with no ambient music or anything, just bird sound effects. Just a garden.
That's so cool. I was like, because this game came out a year after Sonic 2006. And I was thinking of the garden stuff in that game, and I was like, "Oh, please don't be a girl here that Mario needs to kiss or whatever." Mario never. I mean, it's weird to say Mario never gets laid because it's a Nintendo game, but like, I don't know. The most he ever gets is like, "Hey, Peach is gonna give you a kiss on the cheek this time," and he blushes. It's like, can we just have like some implied? I don't know where I'm going with this. Can we
get some tasteful nudity?
Yeah. Can we get something like a little more where like, I don't know, just Mario and Peach hold hands and walk into the castle together. How about that? That'll be good enough.
You want it to be less chaste, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's like Sonic's over here eating pussy because people at Sega are like, we gotta make this guy cool with Mario at all times.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, see, exactly. Sonic's cool, man. He gets to fuck, and Mario's just like,
I only wear shoes so it can be easier to fuck.
Gotta fuck fast. Yeah. Yeah, man. Just give Mario a little more next time, Koizumi. Just a little more. Because especially at the end of Odyssey, it's like that was just nobody got anything. So it's just like, okay, whatever.
I think that hits everything I wanted to say about Mario Galaxy. What impact would you say that this game made on you?
Immense, man. It really, the story, I just never forgot it. Even though I had not, even between when it came out and 3D All-Stars on Switch, I had not played it again. I kind of just played it a bunch at that time, and then played it a bunch on this. And I didn't play it in the, 15, 16 years intervening. I just never forgot it. And I'm like a notorious, I play so many games where like I forget a lot of stuff, I never forgot the storybook. I never forgot those Dreadnought Galaxy or Freeze Flame or the Bee Mario or anything. Yeah, there's stuff I went where it's like, oh yeah, but like for me, if I just remember every detail of the game, that's the biggest testament I can personally give something. So that's like an impact it made on me and never left my head. And it always, and like I said, it was my favorite Mario game. It became the high watermark for me until Odyssey. And even till then, it's like by a hair, I would pick Odyssey. Mario Galaxy 1 here is probably still pretty much just as good.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I like Odyssey a little bit more, but I do also sort of see these as like completely separate experiences because of like what they're doing differently. It's almost two different kinds of maximalism, where one is like maximalism in a sense where like this is the biggest Mario's ever been, this is the highest stakes, the story feels so important because there's like anything could happen and like this like twinge of tragedy and melancholy to the whole thing. Whereas Odyssey is like maximalism in the traditional sense of like this is the most Mario ever.
Yeah. This is the most worlds, this is the most things you can get, this is the most secrets. Yeah.
The most Mario.
The most Marioist.
Yeah, no, this is just a momentous game, like top to bottom, just artfully considered. Just like you really have to like put a microscope to it because of how like much of a Swiss watch kind of game it is. Like it really makes considerations from like, yeah, when Mario's flying around, it looks cool, but we want to make sure the player has something to do, so let's put some star bits for them to collect. From there, just the way that the music is so like, the placement of it, like when you go underwater, or like an underwater version of it will play on those levels that have it. That like juxtaposes with the big orchestral sweep of everything else. And the game just like moving with like a sense of timing and rhythm from the spin dash attack to like how the music doesn't like sync up with the action, but is like placed in such a way where it will like move in rhythm with the action.
Yeah, 100% agreed. Yeah, it's all that stuff is so, it almost it feels effortless because it's Nintendo and they often are very good at that stuff, especially with Mario. But it's just like in this game, you feel the effort behind it, even though they always have the effort behind it. But here it's like you feel it.
Yeah. It's the Mario game in a lot of ways, and like it just feels like one of the canon video games just because of how like perfect everything feels. Like we know the Mario theme song, we know the Underground theme song, we know like the little jingles, and we are familiar with like even like, oh yeah, we know like the castle and like first level music from Mario 64. We know the Super Mario 3 music. The fact that the Gusty Garden Galaxy music, which is like a late level in the game, it's not a Koji Kondo track, it's a Mahito Yokota track, is like considered to be like the theme from this game. Is just a testament to like how good the music is, that like that's the one that like is sticking and is like meant to reference Mario Galaxy.
That is strange. I thought about that too, because you hear that in like Smash Brothers. That's like the Mario Galaxy stage song, right? Or you hear that, and it's very interesting. By the way, that's a great stage. I got the curvature down like perfectly. It's very fun. Yeah, dude. I just think that's like, you nailed it. Also, just the stuff Mario Galaxy delivered to other Mario games. When there's a new Mario game, all that stuff gets proliferated around again. Like we're seeing the rebirth of Pauline, right? Since Odyssey. Obviously, she's not an original character for that, but it's just like, I will never cry tears of joy when Nintendo remembers that Donkey Kong exists in the space of Mario, because that is how I always thought of it, because I'm old. Donkey Kong Country to me is something kind of different, which is also fine, but when Mario, it's Mario and Donkey Kong for me. So like when they remember that stuff, it's great. And it feels like Mario Galaxy ultimately remembers all that stuff too. Even when you go into like a underground area that's like this circular thing, or you went into a pipe and it's like, oh, I'm going to get these coins or whatever. It feels very old school in that sense that it's like you're doing the Mario pipe thing, but it's also very new in the sense it's like I'm doing this like weird globe turning, shifting thing that's like nothing like anything I've ever played. That's the legacy, right? Like there's literally no other games like these. No other games tried to rip them off, because how could they? It's so unique.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a true stroke of genius that Nintendo has a character like Mario that can pull this off, and we're like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense he'd be in space. Why not? Bowser's always up to some shit. What's he doing?
Yeah, he's there. Okay, time for that. Yeah, whatever they can do whatever they want with this character, and it feels not shoehorning. It feels empowering. It feels incredible.
There's no other game quite like this, and it's a hard game to replicate for a lot of reasons without people immediately being like Mario Galaxy. Like this isn't as influential a game as Mario 3 is for the reasons that we talked about in the Mario 3 episode, but this is a unique note in like the opera of Mario's like world. But like every attempt at 3D Mario has been a little different, except for the literal sequel to this game. What would be your ideal 3D Mario going forward?
Honestly, I think I'm ready for something more, I don't think controlled is the right word, something more authored, as you put it, like Mario Galaxy. We've had our big adventure with Odyssey. They didn't really follow it up. It doesn't seem like they're going to. I would go for something like this. I just don't want it to be... I want the spark of imagination, though. I don't want it to be like 3D World, where it just kind of feels like, here is the Mario, which, again, perfectly fine, right? Still better than 90% of video games out there. But I want that next thing. And I feel like it might come from something more Galaxy-like. Again, I don't think they're going to do like running around globes and stuff again. I feel like you can only do that once or twice, I guess. But yeah, it's tough. I want to feel that thing that I almost always feel with Mario. Cause like, I can dunk on Sunshine all I want. I still felt that with that game. That game has a lot of great ideas. Mm-hmm. It's not always executed the best, but it has incredible ideas. I just want incredible ideas.
Like, I think Bowser's Fury was like their like idea of like, we want it to be like one world. What if we had a Mario game that was just one Super Mario world that you explored? And it's like, that would not be the most like authored experience, because it seems to be putting Mario into a nearly open world kind of direction. But I do see like what the idea behind that, like, what is it, 4 to 5 hour overall experience?
Yeah.
Like, it seems like when we have something bigger, we might be able to do something bigger. But that is what the suggested direction is.
Yeah, you got me thinking. Maybe that could work. One big Mario world. Maybe it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be like, Fallout huge or something like that. But maybe you can have like one giant world. It's like, here's the hilly Mushroom kingdom stuff. Here's the lava world. Here's the whatever. Could you actually fit that into one thing? You probably can, and make something out of it. Again, it wouldn't be very authored, but I would be okay with that. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly see a way for Nintendo to incorporate like open world design in a Mario game being based off of like, well, this is an area you can always access if you have like enough like platforming skill to do that. I can also see them doing like, just get 25 stars and you can unlock that area. But I can also see a one where it's like, check for mastery. How good are you at doing like a double ollie? And it's like, what ollie? Yeah, this is a skateboarding game, by the way. I didn't know how to tell you this. Mario Pro Skater. That's a spinoff.
I'm surprised that's never happened, honestly, considering the Tony Hawk craze in the 2000s. I figured that should have happened.
In the GameCube version of SSX On Tour, Mario, Luigi, and Peach are playable characters.
Oh, wow.
Yes, because my brother had this, and I played this specifically, even though it was the worst SSX game at that time, because Mario, Luigi, and Peach were in it.
I love when Nintendo just doesn't care. Oh yeah, you can we dress up Bayonetta like Peach? Sure, yeah, go for it. Whatever. Can we have the Master Sword in Skyrim to behead people with? Yeah, sure, and the shield too. Here you go. Like, people think Nintendo is like always precious about the material, and they kind of are. But sometimes they're just like, yeah, sure, just do it. It's cool.
Yeah. They definitely like have loosened their grip a little bit. The thing I talked about in the last episode I recorded with my buddy Avery when we were talking about X-Men Origins was how Link and Samus were going to be in Marvel Ultimate Alliance on like the GameCube or Wii version that was being made. And then it got really close to the point where they were like coded into the game, and Nintendo was like, actually, no, we changed our mind. I think it's actually very weird for him to talk to Spider-Man.
I think that would have been super cool if they.
I would have loved it.
That. Yeah. And then you have like Mario Strikers Charge, where you're just slamming Peach into an electric fence, and like it's just, I don't know, they get weird about stuff sometimes, but yeah, Master Sword beheading people in Skyrim, whatever, cool.
Yeah. Are they evil? Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, an open world, if they can apply some of that design, because they're going to pimp it out. Like that was the thing with Tears of the Kingdom, where it's like, when they finally showed off the big hook of it, like jamming stuff together and making your own contraptions, a lot of developers are like, forget about Switch and its power. I have no idea how they're pulling this off, like physics wise, and just how does this work? Nintendo has that magic, so I feel like they can apply that to something Mario, big Mario world.
The way I'm just thinking about the ways they would like do a dungeon in an open world with Mario, and like just like, oh, here's a pipe underground. Oh, do. Oh shit.
Oh shit. Yeah.
This is like that's a way for them to like fit in like still like linear level design into an open space. I see the vision.
Yeah.
And I hope they do too.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've had the conversation a million times.
I bet they have. And I hope that happens someday. It's not like my number one Mario wish, but I definitely would be definitely okay with that.
It would be so funny if like the first thing that comes out for Nintendo Switch 2 is Nintendo hired this man. The Unreal Engine Mario game.
Yeah. Nintendo. Those are always so like, oh man. Those are so, I like to look at them because it's like, guys, you're not even, you ever see the Kirby ones? Those are just freaky. Those are so weird.
The thing that always like made me understand Nintendo as a company was the E3 2006 trailer for Brawl, where like it shows them like evolve from their Melee to the Brawl style, and like here's more detail on like Mario's overalls, and like here's Link in the Twilight Princess style. Pikachu's kind of the same. Kirby is just the fucking same.
Yeah. I love when Nintendo does, I mean, people talk about it in that era, but I love when Nintendo does weird, very real life details. It's like, you see that sometimes in like, in Galaxy 2, but also in Odyssey, where it's like, why does this wood paneling look so fucking real? Like, why did they go so hard on this? And then it's like, that looks photorealistic, but then the rest of the game looks cartoony. I don't know. They love to do that.
Yeah. It's like the inverse of like when you see like, okay, that is just like a painted wall in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is probably the most beautiful game I've ever played in a lot of ways. And then like you see like a painted wall. I don't blame them, but it's like you also put yourself in a corner by putting a wall there.
Yeah. So yeah, it's Nintendo gonna Nintendo.
Yeah. But yeah, that is everything I have to say about Super Mario Galaxy. What would you recommend to listeners based on today's discussion? And yeah.
Galaxy 2, LOLs. I really, man, what would we talked about it just briefly. Penny's Big Breakaway is a really good game. Really, really good. It's a 3D platformer that has the focus that I've always wanted those games to have. And it does have a little bit of like speedy, like Sonic stuff. Obviously, these are from the guys who made Sonic Mania, so you're going to have a little bit of that in there. But the best thing I could say about it is that like aesthetically, it's like the early 90s come to life in a way that actually makes sense in a 3D space. It's not like nostalgia porn or anything. It has that like pastel look to it, and it's like very, very cool. And if you could play this on the most powerful system you have. If you have like a PS5 or Xbox Series, play it at 120 frames a second. That response time makes it feel like butter. It is so good.
It looks really good.
Yeah, so if you can do that and you have the TV to support that, please play it that way. But even if you don't, Penny's Big Breakaway is fantastic. It's a great game.
Yeah. My recommendation is Sonic Adventure 2. Like I was like really struggling with this one because it's like there's not really a lot of things like this. Like I wrote down Celeste 64, but that's more of a tribute to Mario 64 and Sunshine to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't. It does feel like in terms of like the borders and the fact that you can like sort of fall off in a lot of ways feels very Galaxy in that kind of way. But it is just kind of like it is literally a free game that they just put on itch for people to download and play if you are a fan of Celeste. That they're doing is like, hey, we're working on the next game, but we threw this together because we wanted to celebrate the anniversary of Celeste.
Yeah.
And I had a good time with it. It's just like a 2-hour experience. If you just like Mario and like little Mario tributes, check out Celeste 64. Sonic Adventure 2 is just Sonic in space, and I'm loving just the juxtaposition between how Sonic treats space and how Mario treats space. I love both of these games. Chao Garden is like one of the best like implementations of like side content in any game ever.
Yep.
But it is just funny to see the juxtapositions between the two and their attitudes about how they do all that stuff.
Yeah, I love Sonic Adventure 2 so much. I love the first one too. I love them both. Yeah, that's honestly a great recommendation. Yeah, for sure.
And then my last recommendation is The Planets, a 7-movement orchestral suite by Gustav Holst. It is more or less the reason why we associate the sound of space with the sweeping orchestral score. It was the inspiration for the score for Star Wars. It influenced Jerry Goldsmith, who composed the score for Alien. King Crimson and Black Sabbath take heavy influence from Mars, which is the first movement of the thing. Treat the Planets is like a 7-track album that is roughly an hour long. And like just taking that experience, because it is kind of one of the most important compositional works of the 20th century. Not just because it goes so fucking hard, but also because it is such a massive influence on film score and video game score, because I maintain to this day that it is probably the inspiration for the Mars suite specifically is inspiration for the airship music from Mario 3, especially how it's interpreted in this version. It just sounds like Gustav Holst's The Planets.
Wow. Okay, I'll do that. As I said, that's not my favorite kind of music. I will absolutely listen to that then.
At the very least, you should listen to Mars, because you're like, holy shit, this is all music, isn't it? Like that's King Crimson, that's Black Sabbath, that is the Imperial March, that is, oh my god, that is the airship theme.
That's how I, honestly, it's always said that Koji Kondo got the Mario theme from like Japanese fusion or Latin pop or like whatever. And I knew a lot of I knew some Latin music, right? But I didn't really know about that Japanese scene of like either fusion or city pop or whatever. And I got into a lot of that shit over the last couple of years. So
yeah, I mean, the Invincibility theme, I think, came from like Summer Breeze, which is a city pop track. I remember hearing that like before he composed the Zelda theme, he was just planning on doing an interpolation of In the Hall of the Mountain King. So
wow,
yeah, I mean, the guy likes music, and this is I would recommend this too. I mean, I heard the funny thing about The Planets is like I'm not presenting this like I'm so cultured, I'm so artistic for knowing this. This is a song I first heard because I watched The Venture Brothers, and there's a scene where like two people are getting ready and they're just going like do 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 while they're doing it.
Is that what that's from? Okay, I've watched a fair amount of Venture Brothers, but yeah,
it's from like the second episode of season 2 where they're just like suiting up for the day, the two henchmen, and they're just like singing. They're like da da, and I'm like, oh shit, what is this song?
That's funny.
Yeah.
What hockey heard you the first time? Lady, no! Mom! I'm calling a dog!
Dre, it's great to have you on the show. It's always wonderful to have you here. Before I let you go, please promote the hell out of yourself.
Thank you. I do a podcast called Fine Time. Me and my two friends, Steve and Kevin, we just talk about whatever we are currently playing. It doesn't matter if it's new. Probably next episode, we're going to talk about Imyo, the Smiling Man, Famicom Detective Club. We could be talking about something old, like Super Mario Galaxy, right? Whatever we are currently playing, that's what we're going to talk about, because that's the most authentic to us. We love covering current events. We love covering Nintendo Directs or Gamescom or whatever, or LOLs at, Microsoft's weird strategy of God knows what. We love to talk about all those things. We love to play games, embarrass each other with quiz games, whatever sounds fun and real. So come have a fine time with us.
Yeah, I always make time to listen to Fine Time. Consider it like a companion show to this show.
Wow, thank you.
It was wonderful to have you on again. I can't believe it took this long, but I'm grateful that you got to be here on the momentous 50th episode of Select and Start.
Dun, 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 dun.
So thank you for being here, and thank you so much for listening to this episode of Select and Start. Once again, I am your host, editor, and promoter, Keifer. If you enjoyed this episode, please give the show a positive review wherever you're listening to this, because engagement helps the show, and your feedback will improve it. If you want to get more engaged, you can give the show a follow on Twitter at SelectPodStart, and if you have thoughts about Super Mario Galaxy or any other games we've discussed, send a DM or leave a comment, and I'll gladly read it on the show. You can also support the show on Patreon. If you pledge at least $1 a month, you'll get early access to new episodes, as well as extended episodes with exclusive content. You could have listened to a longer version of this episode. That's on patreon.com/Keifer's Corner. You can find a link to that and the rest of my projects in the description of this episode. Select and Start is on the Moonshot Network, which is supported by its own Patreon. Find out more on moonshotpods.com. The art for the show is made by my best friend Avery Ott. You can follow him on social media with the handle at AveryRobinOtt. That's AVRY Robin OTT. The show's theme song was composed by Mike Petrie. You can check out the links in the description for both of their works, as well as Dre's. All right, I think that's it. You can now play as Luigi.
Thank you so much for playing my game.
They don't allow you to have bees in here.